Welcome to APEC Open Mic. It is January 6th, and I'm your moderator, Tim Ventura. I want to give a big thank you to everybody for joining us on today's call, along with everybody watching us on YouTube. This is not live. We are recording. We're going to upload this after the fact. This is a Zoom call, and today's session is really about open discussion. So one of the things that we've had in the past is people have been bringing us ad hoc presentations, and we do want to include those, but we really want to focus more on open discussion. So I think what we're going to start out with is kind of a 15-minute timer max for presentations, at least at the beginning of this thing. And then we will move to longer ones, maybe at the tail end of it, depending on how things go. We do not have any attendees who wanted to reach out and ask to present in advance. That is totally cool. We're just going to start with open discussion. And, again, whoever has stuff, bring it here. This is not planned in advance. It is kind of mellow. It's casual Saturday, all that kind of stuff. So just kind of a couple of quick reminders. You can view conference replays, details, and speaker info on our website at altpropulsion.com. During ad hoc presentations, try and save those questions for after the person finishes. That way we're not stepping on each other's toes, interrupting too much. You can raise your hand in Zoom using Option Y on Mac or Alt Y on Windows. You can also type your questions into chat. We try and be pretty good about those. And actually, in terms of raised hands, those work pretty well. We use that option. Again, Option Y on Mac or Alt Y on Windows. That is a pretty good way if you have questions. That way you don't get missed or forgotten or anything like that, because your hand stays up in Zoom until we get to you. We're not firm on hand raising during open mic unless things get completely chaotic. So let me encourage you to jump in if it feels appropriate, but again, try not to interrupt too much. We're trying to keep things focused on the core topics of the alt propulsion community as well, right? So warp drives, gravity, things along those lines. Again, we do not have any ad hoc presentations, so I am going to unspotlight myself, and I'm going to admit the remainder of the folks here, and I'm going to allow people to unmute themselves, and now we're kind of back to normal. So welcome, everybody, and I guess, let me see. You know what? I'll start with Drew. Drew's on the screen. Drew, let me say thank you. You guys did a big presentation in January. I believe the debrief is going to be doing a story on you. One of their editors should be reaching out soon. We did some stuff with Charlie. You guys are having incredible results. So do you have anything you want to share with us?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity on behalf of Charles, Dr. Charles. He just loves talking just about his favorite topic, which is I don't know. I don't understand anything actually he says, but he loves talking about it. So anytime you want him back, just let him know. He'll come back and catch up maybe the last couple of years because he cut off pretty much 2 years before right now, maybe 3 years before right now. And we have a lot of coolness that's going on currently. Um, I wish I had something that I could share, but everything that's been going on the last couple of weeks, and it's been an absolute whirlwind, is all internal proprietary business stuff, sadly. Um, I can tell you that we have been contacted by several major players in the space arena, and we're talking to all of them. We talk to anybody. Um, uh, we really, I've been working pretty much on just manufacturing, trying to get a standard design. I can share you some crazy stuff from the future, and that is this little guy right here, I think it's impossible to see, is kind of where we are right now. This is one of our little test cells. This is just about 10 square inches of magic in this bag. And you put enough of those together, and you can make a 10 millinewton thruster easily. Matter of fact, we've gotten you put four of those together, and we've made 10 millinewtons with that, and it's slightly over Unity drive. That was a really cool night. But that's just an example of something that's convenient to put in the vacuum chamber and test, and it's all very good. So we are talking about the next generation. I don't know if it's even seeable, but this little shape of things to come is an 8-inch diameter. This will be basically the core of our space demonstrator satellite, this little bad boy. And we'll be stacking about 400 of these together. So it, I'm seeing a black box here myself. Did I just lose my video?
Yeah, I think we just lost your video, Drew.
Yeah.
Well,
Let
no,
me
no
try
worries. No
again.
worries. Oh, there we go. It's coming back.
Oh, okay,
There we
whatever.
go.
Everything just pops in and out. So, our future is probably going to be something on the order of maybe a 1 or 2 Newton thruster for a space demonstration. That's kind of in the works. And then uh let's see. Oh yeah, I was frozen. And then something way out in the edge of crazy is this bad boy. Um, this is the beginnings of a 200 Newton thruster. So that's quite a ways out into the future. And right now I have absolutely no idea how to make that work. But we decided to cut out a little plastic doily just to show ourselves how crazy stuff can get. So we're looking into the future. We're looking forwards. I had a chat with that Dave Perez guy over the holidays, and
Yeah, yeah.
he doesn't want to team up with anybody. He's certainly not me. Um, yeah, wish him well. I would love to see that warp bubble drive thing be a reality. Um, I offered our third party services for demonstration of his concept in a ultra high vacuum, with a little more rigor than it appears that his organization has. But he says he's on his own.
Well,
Next
you know,
with
Drew,
him, it'll be when his spaceship is zipping around the sky.
yeah, I mean, I think the community that we've created, right, is kind of a mixture. You have a lot of independent people like yourself. I mean, like yourself, right? Your own team is working independently, and you guys have secret sauce material and things like that. And I know David Paris does as well. But then there's also collaborative aspects to it. And so my hope is, if we're able to, right, it's the best of both worlds. I mean, my interest is just like from a community perspective, how can I help support people like yourself, right? Because you're doing the work. I mean, all I do is talk to a microphone. So, so that's that. I mean, that's part of it is like, how can we bring people together so that they can help each other? But then there are a lot of independent projects. And I would bet you it's always going to be like that. It's just the nature of our
Right.
community, you know?
It's it's great. So that's where we are. We haven't made any breakthroughs. Have I've got it to where I can build an entire test article set in 24 hours now. I can actually cycle through ultra high vacuum testing once a day, which is pretty amazing considering all the steps it takes to get there. And we're trying out some exotic new materials. Um,
Yeah,
that's
this
it from
is
sunny Florida.
well, thank you, man. Thank you for the update. That's again, I think that the work that you guys are doing is absolutely amazing. You know, I'm really excited. I see all of these projects are moving forward. Your work is, David's work is, the stuff that Mark Sokol is working on with Alzaphon. He's been showing me lab view stuff. He has a bunch that's moving forward as well. So like I see all of this experimental work moving forward and it's just awesome, you know? So, well, does anybody else
Great.
have anything to, share? Uh, and again, you guys can
Yes,
rate.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Nawaz. My name is Nawaz. Okay. I am talking about free energy.
Can you move
So,
sorry, you're over mic'd. You're very over mic'd. Oh, part of
okay.
that. Okay. That, perfect.
Okay. I have found a paper related to free energy. This experiment name is neodymium free neodymium magnet free energy generator. It can produce energy without any outside source, and it produces itself.
Do you have a link that you could drop into chat to it?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah, and speaking of which, while we are dropping links into chat, John Schultz just gave me
Yes,
an
yes.
interesting link to a different.
This is a conceptual research on free energy magnetic generator.
Ah, okay. You know what? Here, let me share this for the audience, if that's okay. I'll do a screen share real quick. Okay. Hopefully you guys can all see this effectively.
Yeah.
And do you have a link online that folks can use for this? They can download this from chat. So everybody who's in the conference right now, if you go to chat, you can download this there. Looks like kind of an innovative magnet motor design. I'm just running through it really quick. And then I should also, let me see, these are your emails, right?
No, my email is, no, it is not my email.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I'm
I'm going to drop this into chat for people. Okay, let me stop sharing on that. Oops. Are you still with us?
Oh,
I think you.
just to let everybody know, I finally made it into college now. So, hello.
Oh, thanks, Jeremy. That's awesome. And yeah, let me see. New as.
Yeah, I'm
Okay. Oh no, new as was
here.
showing us the magnet. Yeah. So I just wanted to let him know. So we have the paper in chat, and then I dropped the reference in there. I think that people could probably find this on archive. So new as, thank you, sir. Was that everything you had?
yeah.
Were you able to build this motor?
Okay. Okay. I am trying to find a career in research lab about this project, but my concern is how I can join, because I have interest in researching these projects. Hello?
Yeah, sorry.
Hello.
You said you need help building it, or
Yes, help building it, and I wanted to work in research laboratory, but I don't know how I would join, because these research projects are totally new in physical arena.
so I do have a couple of thoughts. If you're looking at magnet motors, one of the best communities for that is probably the Tesla Tech community. They have a lot of people building those, at least that I know of, and I know there are others. And so if you go to teslatech.info, that conference has a lot of people doing it. My other thought would be, if you want to drop your contact info in, drop your email into chat. That way it's not on the open internet, right? And anybody who's in the conference, if they want to reach out to you, they can. And again, we've already got the paper in there and the info on it.
Okay.
There we
this
go.
is my email.
Yeah. Yep. So I see your email in there. So yeah, anybody who wants to help NUAS, in terms of magnet motors or any kind of collaboration there, his email is in chat. I think that's kind of a great start. That should get you started. And, a lot of people have built them, right? That one looks, in some ways, it looked fairly conventional. So, but every design has little tricks to it. So while I have you guys, I want to share the screen really quick and show you something, since we've kind of stumbled into the energy concept. Let me see if I can. There we go. And I'm going to drop this into chat as well. So this is from Garrett Modell, and let me pop open. Okay. Hold on a sec. There we go. So John Schultz, who attends APEC, he emailed me this. This is something he was following. Let me see. He said, if you haven't seen it yet, there's a professional quantum tunneling research team at the University of Colorado, led by Professor Garrett Modell, that is confident they found a way to harness ZPE if scaled up. They hope to be able to produce 70 watts per square meter, basically using the Casimir effect, with a 1 micron gap filled with a dielectric, and then capturing stray electrons from it with quantum tunneling technology that they've been working on. So I believe this is University of Colorado. They have a university that works with mines. I believe what they are building there in this, and let me see, I'm going to turn the volume down there, but I believe this is related to the mining stuff. I'm just going to run through this really quick. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I will drop this link into chat for you guys, though. And I'm also going to drop John's email in here. Okay. And so this is the entire text. Okay. And now it's saying it's too long. There we go. So this might be worth taking a look at, guys. The thing that got me about this was, in terms of technology, it reminds me of what Drew was working with. Basically thin film dielectrics with, conducting plates. And so Casimir force. And when Charlie was describing what him and Drew were working on, this seems very similar, except in this case, instead of generating a force, it looks like they're trying to generate electrons and then use quantum tunneling to capture them. And let me see.
That's interesting, because
There we go.
I know what we're doing. We're stealing momentum. But I don't get how you would steal the actual electrons, because the universe is going to want them back. So if you were somehow, if the electron and its little whatever popped in this time, and you swipe that electron, it seems like the universe is going to get a little angry and want it back somehow. So I don't see how they're actually stealing.
I think that's where the tunneling part comes in. And again, the best that I can do is point you guys to this video, and I dropped all the links in there. Yeah. And anybody who ends up watching this in replay, again, this is something they can look up. It's just on YouTube, and it's Professor Garrett Modell. So,
So Tim, I went through his paper the other day, and there was one interesting observation I had about it. One of his figures, he shows like this spiral spring thing, you know, like a nano spring. And he shows how he's trying to use that either as an example or as the actual model for extracting some of the ZPE through the Casimir forces. So the idea is on the underside of one side of the coil, you get one charge, and on the other side of that part of the coil, you get the other charge. So as it goes around, you have like this interaction, right? So one interesting observation about that is if that spring has some tension to it and it can move, as it gets closer, the Casimir forces get stronger. And so if you can balance the stiffness of this thing from the attractive forces of those Casimir forces against the repulsion, which is the extraction of that energy, you could create a resonant system, which would be oscillating and extracting energy, whether it be the thermal expansion of the thing, like with nitinol, or there's a bunch of different ways that you could force the expansion in some kind of oscillating motion. I just thought that was worth sharing.
Interesting. Well, yeah, thanks, Jared. Yeah, I didn't even look closely enough at it. I was just interested in this idea. And again, it reminded me of Drew's stuff. And with Drew's stuff, you know, especially with what Charlie said, to me is just mind-blowing, you know, because I mean, asymmetrical capacitors go back so far, right? And now it's like they are making these massive inroads into it, understanding the science and optimizing it, right? And it just goes to show, it's like every time something gets ruled out, you know, somebody is able to come along and understand it and view it from a different way and make massive progress with it. So
it was from his 2009 paper, actually. I just dropped into chat. On page 8, he shows the figure.
Thank you. What, do you want me to do a share on this, or do you want to do a share on it?
Yeah, I can share it since I got it up.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, today's really mellow, guys. This is super mellow discussion time.
So first, the title
like
of this
ultra
paper, the title of this paper is Extracting Quantum Vacuum Energy, right? And if we go down to halfway through, here we go. So this was originally what Ford, remember Ford's rotational field, the guy who talks about moving mercury through a toroid, you know, really fast or something like that, can create anti-gravity type stuff. So this Casimir cavity was actually originally conceptualized by Ford. So this isn't original to Garrett's model, Garrett Modell's model. Anyways, but you can see how you get positive charges on the top side of this, and then on the underside of it, you'd get negative charges. And the idea is that there'll be a repulsive force between this outside against itself and an attractive force on the underside. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's worth a read.
Yeah, that is interesting. That is interesting. Well, and that slinky chamber also, you know. See, now I've got Drew stuff on the brain because this Casimir stuff is so closely resembles like the design. So maybe there's something for the slinky stuff too, Drew. I don't know if you guys have tried something like that, but you know, all sorts of different ways to skin the proverbial cat. Let me see. So Gerald has a video of a coil floating above a magnet, and then Tarl said that Michael Boyd may have something to share, and he also thanked me for my dancing. If you guys missed that, when we first started, I was dancing, and I do a mean disco. It is truly a disco inferno. So Jared's smiling. He's seen it before.
I think we need to see it again, Tim. I think you need to stand up and
yeah, I need to see that. I would actually like to see that.
I have to burn my eyes out now. Stop.
Well, that's what they call it, inferno, bro.
Go Tim.
That is, yeah. That is. You know what I need? I need like stacked disco shoes and well, they don't wait, but they don't call, because I have a teenage daughter. They don't call them bell bottoms anymore. They call them flares. Because bell bottom is apparently so it's basically it's ruined that word forever, right? Like when you say that, people like me have PTSD, so they had to change the name. Because my daughter's buying those. She's like, I'm buying flares. I'm like, Those look like bell bottoms. Like, thou shalt not speak the name. So, well, Gerald, do you want to do a video for us? And then again, Michael Boyd, I know Michael's floating around here.
Sure. The video's like 9 minutes, so I don't know if you want to go through the whole thing or just a little piece of it, or
Yeah, it's up to you. I mean, if it's yours, you can do volume if you want or not, or you know.
sure. I'm just thinking of share here.
Yeah, so again, what Mark Sokol suggested this, and it's a good idea. What when we came up with this open mic idea, the concept was to split out these incredible discussions that we've had at APEC from that structured presentation, and you know, and we've had people doing massive presentations, and he was like, why don't we put a time limit on it so that we can focus it on just chit chat, right? Just catch up stuff. So
more casual, laid back kind of thing.
yeah. Well, you know how the regular conference, I mean, the way that it used to go, we do these 6-hour conference, and then you guys would do the quote unquote after party and talk for like another 6 hours, and it would be like brilliant stuff while the old people like myself were sleeping in the background. So
Okay, well, I could show the whole video if you guys are interested. I kind of beefed it up a little bit and tried to hook as many watchers as possible, because ultimately it's about getting people to think. So yeah, I could throw the whole thing on if you guys don't mind.
yeah, go for it.
All right.
And Mike just said that flares are wider than bell bottoms, just so you know. So if any of you have children, okay, now you know.
Okay.
Right, we're reinventing the early 60s.
All right. Can we see everybody here?
Yeah.
Pardon the title. I was trying to come up with something creative. So, all right.
Yeah, and to me, it looks okay as is. Gerald, you might be able to hit I mean, you could try the full screen button if you want, but down, yeah. Maybe give that a shot and see.
Am I blind or?
Oh,
It's
sorry.
the four-corner square that's
The
in the
four-corner
bottom of your
square.
YouTube. Yeah, in there, you just about had it. Go down, and it's right in the bottom of your video window. Bottom right. That's
I
the one.
apologize.
There we go.
Okay. All right.
No, it's okay.
So,
that way we won't see your music videos. I've been doing David Lee Roth, so
there you go.
I can't complain about Jewel because David Lee Roth is like it just goes up from there, right?
Well, my daughter was in my office last night, so that's my excuse for Jewel. But David Lee Roth, I usually, hey, it's just like living in paradise, right?
Yeah, I was doing California Girls and
oh yeah, go ahead and jump.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All right, so we'll start this off. I won't do a commentary. I'll just let the video play, and I'll answer questions after if anyone has.
Let's make sure that we're getting sound first.
Yeah,
okay.
I did share sound. We'll give it a go here.
Well, we're not hearing anything if there is sound.
It should
Hey
start.
everybody, here's a fun
Can
little
you hear
me
video
now?
for you. First of all, same circuit, right?
Pretty
we're
low.
gonna
I don't know
weigh
if you can.
these 4 pieces, the coil and these 3 others. And what I have here is a 4K camera to catch the side view of what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to put that there. We'll hit record when we're ready. All right. So here's the scale. .5 grams. Can everybody see that? Okay, am I pulling down on this? All right, let's see this here. 4.9 grams. I guess the wires are pulling down on the coil. Okay, so let's move that. The ring, 5.2. So the ring weighs pretty much the same as the coil. Rubber ring, 1.2 grams. Excellent. All right. And little rubber belt here, 7.7. Although I'm not sure we'll get to the belt. We'll see if it even levitates. All right, so let's turn on a little 4K camera here. Move this out of the way. And here's our neodymium magnet. All right. So just to show you there's no funny business, I'm pulsing at 1,000 hertz, 0.1% square wave. 27 volts input. And 3, 2, 1. So this is what I get when I turn it on. And I'm going to turn it on in 3, 2, 1. I don't know if the camera picked up on that. And that's at 3 watts pulse. That's 3 watts holding that up. It's not getting hot. It's not AC. Just 3 watts. I wonder if there's a better angle to show you. Maybe if I hold it. See, it wants to fly. Just kidding, by the way. But it's a neat little interaction. See, check it out. Oh, it jumped right off that time. Let's see if we can do that again. Almost. One more time. Nope. But a fun experiment nonetheless. Alright, here's what we got, everybody. We got a neodymium magnet, little coil, right? Sharpie. I'm going to levitate this for 3 watts. Alright, here we go. We're going to turn it on. Oh, of course I need to balance. Turn it on in 3, 2, 1. Can you see that? There's my big fat hand in the way. Let's see. I can just let the marker go. Check that out. Can you see that, everybody? Let me put something underneath. Here. Watch. Oh, if I tap it, it's going to fall. See? Oh! As you can see. Right? Nothing holding it up. 3 watts. Ooh, my voltage gained on the circuit. It's now at 30. Alright, we're going to try and do this again. It's very hard because I've only got 2 hands. What's this? It's a pencil, neodymium magnet, little geometrical coil. We're going to pulse it at 24 megahertz, 0.1% duty cycle, 20 volts per pulse. And the power supply, 27 volts. And it should only show 3 watts, but we'll see. I'm going to hold the pencil here and turn it on. There's a balance point, it seems like a focal point. If I can get it to balance properly, it'll sit there and levitate. That's funny. Levitate. And it should do it for only 3 watts. Alright, so I'm going to put the camera down while I hit the button. Turning it on in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so now we got it up, as you can see, and I'm going to just reach over here in the case As you can see, it's at 3 watts. 0.1% duty cycle square wave. And it's levitating. So we're going to turn that back on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So what we got going on here, if I can just take my finger off this. Oh, balance, please balance. There you go. Can we see that? Let's move the camera over a little bit more. Make sure we're getting it dead on. The wires themselves are holding down the coil. See, balance is difficult. There is a center point that it likes to sit at, and with these wires sitting here, it's hard to balance it out. But let's do this. Let's put this plastic ring to see how much weight it can hold. Can it hold its own weight? And how much will it go down if it does? There we go. It's holding its own weight plus 0.1 gram, maybe 1/2 inch in distance. Can it hold its own weight? And how much will it go down if it does? There we go. It's holding its own weight plus 0.1 gram, maybe 1/2 inch in distance. Now this little ring here, this rubber ring, represents 1.2 grams. If we put that on there, it's carrying more than its own weight. Let's see if we can do that. Look at that. That's 1.2 grams over its weight at 3 watts. And it's partially lighting this light beam. Interesting, eh? We got it all from a side angle. Now this little ring here, this rubber ring, represents 1.2 grams. If we put that on there, it's carrying more than its own weight. Let's see if we can do that. Look at that. That's 1.2 grams over its weight. Don't flip out, man. Have a good day.
Awesome. Gerald, was that everything you had, man?
Yeah, that was it. Just a quick little video to kind of show you me playing around, so to speak.
No, that's awesome, man. Thank you for putting that out there. Okay, well, let me hear. Yeah, I'll stop your sharing there. Oops. Oh, you already stopped it. And let me see. I dropped a couple links into chat. Again, it's really soon after the holidays, right? So we've had tremendous movement in our community, but I think everything just in general slowed down for Christmas and New Year's, thankfully. And so things are kind of slow. Like I haven't seen a lot of movement in the UAP story lately. And that's kind of to be expected. I did have one. It's not breakthrough propulsion, but it's Kalashnikov. In fact, here, maybe I'll do a screen share on that real quick, just so you guys can see it. I guess you could sort of kind of make the case that it's alternative propulsion in a weird way. So Kalashnikov, the guys who make the AK-47, they unveiled a let me see, jam-proof attack drone. This is in Forbes. So what makes this kind of interesting, though, is what makes it jam-proof is that it may be capable of full automation. And so this is kind of Russia moving forward with automated killing machines. And then we have that replicator program. So, so if you guys are feeling bored, this link might be worth taking a look at. Again, there's no magic here. It's pretty conventional drone technology. But I think what makes it interesting is they're leveraging AI to do some unique stuff with it. So
yeah, well, we got makeshift EMP devices we can use, like with a clicker and like some kind of like magnetic deal. You could throw it and it does a pulse. So we have defenses.
Yeah. And I suggested in LinkedIn while they were talking about, I said, why don't you just use like a shotgun? And apparently people thought that was a brilliant idea. That's what they were made for, right? Like small flying objects.
Yeah, buckshot or something. Or I think that's a single. Like it's a single, huh?
Yeah.
The
So
the problems are clouds of drones. What do you do if your cloud of drones is going at you? You know?
Well, this is why you got the EMP device. You can look up how to look up a makeshift EMP device that by grenade by your hand on YouTube. They got stuff, so it will have enough field to fry the drones. As long as the drones don't have any like material metals that are resistant to EMP shocks, absorbing the EMP blast or whichever, then it should get rid of all that pretty quickly. I mean, you could throw it in the air and set it as a timer. It's all mechanical, and you just wait and you count it, and then just throw it, and that should take care of it. It's
well,
cheap parts.
Yeah.
I think there is one potential benefit of stuff like that, which is in terms of these emerging technologies, these propulsion technologies, things like drones are pushing forward computer control for flight.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be really useful also, right? So
Yeah.
as these propulsion technologies move forward, we'll be able to leverage things like this to make them fly better. So it's not being designed, you know what I mean? It's like the propulsion stuff is kind of in a silo for now, but when the time is right, the other technologies will be there to turn it into, like Mark's spacecraft
Yeah,
that he's
yeah.
building,
But
you
I
know?
don't think we should lose sight of the old 1940s and all the way from 200 years of the mechanical and manual type of ways. I don't think we should just forego those. They're pivotal, especially when if you have no access means to electronic boards or anything like that, any breadboards or anything of electronic wise. So
Yeah.
it is a big thing. Uh, it took
Yeah.
Jeremiah and them to transfer me. Oh, go ahead.
You remind me. Thanks for Tim for sharing that because I am to the point. I am talking to special operation this week, submitting a bunch of projects, and I can submit like some sort of depth perception tool mixed with laser weapons that can quickly fry drones randomly.
Oh,
So
yes.
Well,
yeah,
and Phil, do you have an update for us? You were doing I think it was germanium. You were doing mercury experiments and then germanium metal too, right? Not germanium, gallium.
yeah, the gallium one.
The MHD. Do you have any experimental videos you want to share with us, or are you kind of stopped on that for the time being?
Not right now because I did the grinder experiment. You remember I presented
Yeah.
quickly in December. So I shared that with Lockheed Martin and other agencies, and I talked to special operation as well, and they should come back to me in 30 days. And also there's also another agency that is even quicker than that, and I'm gonna submit all my projects to them. They should respond within 5 or 7 days. So yeah, right now the MHD gallium is on hold because I need capacitors because I need 1 amp per RPM. So right now with 50 amps I can reach 50 RPM. But if I want 60,000 RPM, then I need 60,000 amps. So I need capacitors for that. So that's why I'm looking for grants, partnership, and stuff like that more than anything else because I don't think capacitors of 60,000 amps in my apartment is a good idea. So although I don't need high voltage, so just a few volts and 60,000 amps would require 60,000 watts. So that's a good thing. But yeah, let's see what happens. I'll post something on the APEC chat once I get something positive.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Sorry, and so while you were giving us your update, Mark just texted me. He is, let me see, he's not at his lab. He's stuck because of a storm, I guess, on the East Coast. So he's hoping to be able to join, but he's not sure. And then out in the Seattle area, actually, we're looking at snow in the next week.
There ain't no snow here in Montreal. That's ironic.
Well, you guys are
Well,
farther north than we are, right? So
where
Can
I'm
I
at,
say
it's
something
really
about
cold.
EMP quickly? About drones?
Yeah, here in Florida, we keep our snow in these things called snow cones.
yeah, you're down in Florida, Drew. Well, you guys get ice
Yeah.
though, right? It kills space shuttles, but other than that,
Yeah, it's like once in a century.
I'm right
Hey
on the
Tim,
coast.
Tim,
I'm on the
Michael,
coast, so it's a little different for us. But
Yeah,
um,
what I was
has
going
anybody
to
been following the? I'm sorry, has anybody been following the rebirth of this LK99? It seems to have come roaring back.
Yeah, I
Um,
am. I got all the documentation that they've been posting on the articles on it and stuff. And it seems like they're trying to stack or
Tim, can I throw my
add.
screen up?
yeah, go for it. I would say, Drew, I would say the person who knows more about that than anybody is probably Michael Perrone. I don't know if he's here,
Yeah.
but uh, I don't think he is. He's not.
I follow this thing called Next Great Future or Next Big Future, whatever they call
Yeah.
it. And
Oops. Yeah, you need to double click to finish sharing. You need to select the screen to share,
the
Drew.
last 2 days. Um, the guys from
Well, Drew, hold on just a sec.
They appear to be
Drew,
they're headed to some big conference.
Sorry, Drew, hold on for just a sec. Your bandwidth is a
I got
little
the
bit
wrong
slow.
screen.
No, so you've started sharing, but you have to select the screen to share. It hasn't actually started sharing yet. Oops. He may have just dropped off. He did drop off. Okay, we lost him. He'll be back.
Yeah, Michael Perrone was just saying how some group had just started doing the LK99 stuff again, and it was looking promising. But didn't you start asking something about the drones?
Yeah, what I want to say about drones, EMP pulse won't work maybe as intended because it will damage your own equipment as well. So that's something to consider. But another thing is you could make drones really easily safe from interference if you kind of just use line of sight lasers for passing information between them. And
I heard you can go ahead.
If you kind of just use the lasers to communication between the drones, that couldn't be interfered with.
I heard you could shine a laser into the lens where the drone sees, and it like scrambles up the sight of the drone or something.
Yeah, you
guys,
could definitely destroy the camera that way.
Let me
yeah.
here let me do where's my share button? I want to share this with you guys real quick. So for most of us, I guess, especially here in the US, we don't have to worry about attack drones, but so I just read this as well. And let me see. This isn't the article I was looking at, but basically the US government just relaxed some restrictions for drones, and I'm sure Europe will follow suit or already has. And so it's not a technical hurdle, it's more of a regulatory thing. But supposedly Amazon and 3 other vendors are going to be going mainstream. And I'll put this in here. Maybe this is the actual article. Yeah, Axios. I think this is the one I saw. Yep. So zipline and wing and wide-scale U.S. deployment starting next year. And this was so starting this year. So in 2024. And then Amazon is looking at that as well. So this is, and Dejan, sorry for interrupting with the EMP thing. I will stop sharing here. But
one thing that
they already use drones to illegally to supply inmates and in prisons and things like that. So I think it's going to be chaotic if it can go across the border as well. So hopefully that can be controlled. It's going to be hard to control, but with legal drones and illegal drones and all that. So
in United Kingdom, you already need the license for drones which are heavier than a few hundred grams.
Yeah, but
So I don't know.
It's going to be intriguing, the legislation for that.
I want to drop this in too real quick, something to think about. This offends people because drones are electric, and obviously we love electric. The problem is electric drones, you've got like a half-hour flight time, right? And so I think in the short term, until batteries catch up, so Yamaha is one. They don't have the specs here, but this has a pretty amazing power output. I think it was something like 6,000 watts. It's a little four-stroke engine. It uses gasoline or diesel, right? Which in general principles we don't like, but it's kind of a stopgap. And so for these drone deliveries, as well as, who knows, attack drones or God knows what, we may see a return to hybrids with engines like this. And if I remember right, the flight time on these is something like an hour to an hour and a half. And okay. So let me see. 3.5 hour flight time with 30 liters of gas, or yeah. With a 2.5 kilogram payload. There we go. Okay, here we go. Aerial hybrid unit. 17 kilowatts output. 76 kilos. I have no idea what that even is. 2.2 pounds per kilo, I think. So 35 pounds, something like that. 300 volt output. So, and here's what it is compared to a person. So this is not, it's not a tiny engine, right? If you have a person here, and let me see if I can zoom in here. Yeah. So, compared to a person, this is not tiny, but at the same time, this may allow drones to evolve a bit. I mean, I think it's an interesting idea, right? And it's not a permanent solution, but it's kind of a stopgap, and it may let them kind of get to the next level while batteries catch up. And again, Michael Perrone has shared with me probably 2 or 3 different types of amazing new battery technologies that are out there, but lithium ion currently is where it is, and so we just have to wait a while.
Now, Tim, I just talking of drones. I don't know if anyone knows about Mosaic.
No, do you want to tell us? Do you want to do a screen share, Shrish, or?
Oh, let me just put this link in the chat.
I'll share it for you if you want.
Yeah. So this is kind of interesting for nothing to do with UAP, but it's just with yeah. If you see this, so basically the impression I have of this is very interesting because it's FAA rules being changed for LSR. LSR is light sport and recreation craft, if I'm right. That's what it stands for. So
okay.
until now, until Mosaic came through, you could only have one-person crafts without a license. And with this, they're now allowing four-seater crafts, really speaking. So and also the weight limitation also is, I mean, They've increased the weight. I think before they had something like 200 pounds or something like that, something like that. So they've increased that also. So what that's really good, given all the EV oils that are coming in. So that just opens up the market significantly, actually.
So, Shrish, are you saying right now that the FAA is looking at allowing non-licensed pilots to take up to 3 people up in the air with them and break all the FAA rules that they aren't familiar with because they don't have a license?
Well, I think they have to take some kind of training course, but they don't have to have like even a light sport license. I think that's basically what they're trying to say with this. I mean, that rule is passed. Okay, so I think they had like a year or something of comments, and then they have come through with it. That's what this article was about, really. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've seen, going back years, I've seen the FAA trying to enable a lot of these new technologies, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
don't always get it. They don't always know what they're supposed to do or where it's supposed to go. But they had a ruling a while ago about computer controlled vehicles where you don't need a pilot's license if a computer flies it and it's below a certain weight class. So,
Oh yeah, the autonomous. Yeah, I've heard of a few companies doing that. And I think that's going to become a big problem. I mean, with all these EVTOLs coming up, I mean, we just don't have enough pilots. Who's going to fly them, I mean,
yeah.
you can have all the craft you want, but, you can barely ever get around anywhere because you need you got to spend something like 100 or 150K to get a pilot's license, which is kind of like limiting, right? So,
And then some of it, this is for me, but like I have a Tesla Model 3 and it technically it has autopilot. Like I see the feature, it's on my dash, it's never turned on, right? And people ask me about that. They're like, "Are you gonna turn autopilot on?" I'm like, "No way in hell," But
yeah.
so yeah, some of this it may lead to a new version of the Darwin Awards as people begin to kill themselves left and right with it. And we're seeing with the autopilot too. You see people turn that on and they sleep in traffic, and I'm like, that doesn't
Yeah.
even seem safe, But
Yeah, that's true. Talking of that, I mean, there's a lot of commentary really speaking about autonomous in the air being much more useful and much more feasible just because of the traffic, like when you're talking of road transportation, it's just a very crowded, very, really speaking, a very unruly environment we have, really speaking, wherever it is, right? I mean, but air is a bit more, manageable. So that's why I think there's a few companies I've heard of. I can't remember them offhand, but they're doing a lot of this autonomous. I think sometime back there was a helicopter that they landed. They did auto rotation, if I'm right. That was a big landmark. Yeah.
I'm really excited by all of this. It's going to take a while to move forward, but I think that it's going to be tremendous enabling. And then I see the work that we're doing, right? Like the alt propulsion work fits into that. It fits into this framework of they're
Oh yeah.
ironing out the bugs with the transportation system. And I think the transportation system is going to be tremendous. I mean, right
Yeah.
now, like just as a for instance, but where we live is largely dictated by how close we are to metro centers where people work, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, you don't want to get into the commute thing, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you have a vehicle that can go twice as fast, and if it can go line of sight, so you can go over water and things like that, that
Yeah.
opens up tremendous new living space, and it gets people out of some of the urban crowding that's happening right now. So, I mean, that's just one example,
Take
Yeah,
advantage
I don't
of
know.
that.
Have you heard of Jetsons? Not the TV series, but the personal aircraft called Jetsons.
I think so. That's the
Oh,
sport
that's
one, right?
that's a really cool new vehicle. I think they launched it last year and they already sold out. So it's a multi-copter architecture, and And it's really cool. So you just get into it, and this is kind of it's not the issue that Jared just now mentioned. It's a one part. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's not just them, there's others. I think the unique thing about Jetson is it's at a reasonable cost. It's less than 100K. So,
Well, we live in 3 dimension, not 2 dimension, and we're in 2023. I think we need to scale up to using the 3 dimension, you know?
yeah. And this is the kind of thing, right? I mean, see, they're using it for rural, really speaking, because I think the current rules as of now, you can't really use these light sport aircraft in urban areas or crowded areas. But it's really good for agricultural applications, really. I
Yeah.
think that's where they're going.
There's also a guy in Europe who had a jetpack and he
Oh,
flew
yeah, yeah.
to United Kingdom with it. But
Yeah, I
I
think they sold
know,
it to the Middle East cops. I think the police were using it, if I'm right, that one, right?
yeah,
Yeah, this guy has been on this jetpack aviation personal jetpack.
maybe he has trouble marketing it, but I think that's pretty cool.
No, he sold quite a bit. I mean, that's what I mean. I think he sold it to I don't know, it was Dubai police or something like that. I think they were using it, and I don't think it really made much progress in the US. But check this craft out. I mean, it's so cool, right? It doesn't have much flight time, of course, but hey, it works.
Well, and I think this is where the hybrid motors come in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all electric, I think. And see, they're showing the training. It's really easy. Like it's just like sitting in a drone.
Yeah. To me, things like this are tremendously exciting. And then as these alt propulsion technologies move forward, you just swap out those rotors for other things.
Yeah. I think there's a big pull in the market for this. I mean, what you just now mentioned, Tim, that we need alternate propulsion, really speaking, than these whirly things, right? I mean, again, going back to your point of delivery drones, there is still a noise factor there. There's still a danger factor there. Now, if you had alt propulsion, which could somehow do away with all this, I think that whole drone market will just skyrocket, pun intended.
Well, the other thing that's really exciting when you think about this design, right, is there are all of these unknowns with new technologies, and this takes advantage of learning lessons from drones. So, like the weird little bugs that kill drones, they've ironed a lot of those out for things like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is really exciting.
I think there was a question from someone just now about how is it different than ultralights. I think this one is basically, my impression is that it's just much more easy to navigate, really speaking.
Yeah. Sorry. And let me bring my other window up. I'll see if I can find another.
Oh, there's a bunch of them. I think I was just like looking around and I heard about Jetson, and then I saw there's a bunch of others. I think mostly from startups.
Here's another. This is another one from Jetson for commuting to work. And
yeah.
I'm excited about this because I see this as like a big initial. I think this is the next Tesla, right? I mean,
yeah.
I have to add something now. Oh,
yeah, go for it, Jeremy.
Well, there was an event that happened in the Brazil of Nene last year in August, or September, but they said that they were attacked by a cartel group or something, and
okay.
that they said that they were using jetpacks that were really advanced. It's like you would have this platform you'd stand on, and it was like this bar that was wrapped around your back, and then you had these
that's what Phil was talking about, I think.
Yeah, but it looked like something that was done in 1980s or so. I remember hearing
there's this
something
guy, I
about
can't get
thing.
his name, but he's been on this thing about jetpack, personal jetpack for like ages, so.
Yeah, but they look so advanced though. I mean, it's like faster than even that plane there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was an interesting aspect of jetpacks. Like recently with the Peru aliens thing that came up, they were saying that it might have been miners using jetpacks, and it's just odd that we live in a time in a world where that sounds more plausible than aliens. And it's true, kind of. I've seen a few different angles on that.
Yeah, but I
Oh,
think it was actually aliens because I don't think
oh
it's the
yeah, that one.
jetpacks.
Yeah.
But still,
Oh,
I know that
ignore
technology exists. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
ignore Iron Man. Ignore Iron Man. These are real
Yeah,
jets. Now,
But I
yeah.
saw a comment that there's something else called gravity, I believe, in the UK.
the
Well,
downside to jetpacks here is you'll see them in a minute. The ones where the guys wear the things on their wrists, right? They have the structure on their wrists. So
Oh,
yeah,
basically, so
okay.
this one is good because the pilot is
Wow.
kind of neutral. The one where it's on his wrist is like wearing it's like doing push-ups. Like if you can
Oh
yeah.
imagine,
yeah, it's gonna be really, yeah.
No, the
yeah, it
jetpack I saw was smaller though. It wasn't like this.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're thinking about the ones where they have stuff on their wrists. And those are good. I forgot the name of it. It may be in
Well, they're
it is
very
in
small. No, it's like it's just
Yeah,
like
I
they
think I
have
know what you're
bars that are
saying. It was just
you
something you had,
stand
it
on the
used to be a
bars.
backpack.
Yeah, you stand on the bars, and it's like a bar that goes along your leg and
Yeah,
around your
yeah.
back, and it's I mean, it's much faster than this, but it's weird.
I don't know, man, but I would
I
still
got
be
a
scared to
photo
have
of
a
it. I
jetpack.
gotta show you
There we
guys.
go. That's our guy. That's the one I keep
Ah,
seeing.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
this is the
That's
one, and this is the one where it's like doing push-ups, and so it takes like
Oh, it's cool though.
tremendous upper body strength to, and that's
I
why
know
you
the
only see him
thrust
do
on your
this.
body would be massive.
The
Well, hey, that's
best,
good
the
strength training.
best one
So,
was done actually by United States Army back in 50s. They had
Ah,
this jetpack, which wasn't jetpack, it was just a jet engine, and you
uh,
stood on it. And I
yeah,
don't understand why don't they use that's much simpler system and much more
yeah.
readily available because you don't need four small jet engines. You just need one of appropriate size. Like
Oops,
a
where's my
well, there's an aerodynamics issue, right? You can't have one, you need to have two, right? Because
Yeah.
so
it gets unstable. I think, yeah,
yeah,
that
that's
makes
what I mean.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But it's
know
innovative. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, jetpack aviation. These are the guys. Yeah, yeah. I think they came up with something called a hover bike also some time back. I think they've been doing a lot of stuff.
a
And I think now
problem
they're
with
coming up with a new craft like that Jetsons.
Yeah.
yeah, and again,
you
I
basically want a solution which leaves your hands free. With this solution, you couldn't do anything with your hands. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It's immediately useless for a military application because you couldn't shoot at anybody and everybody could shoot at you. So
Ah, it's just for monitoring that kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
this
but
was
just
this is an older style, much
you can
older
put
style.
the AI
Yeah.
or a drone or something automated to film some
Uh-huh.
places, you know.
So this guy only has something like 30 seconds to 1 minute of fuel, if I remember right.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's a fun ride. That's all it is.
Yeah. He can't stay up very long. And that's why,
Yeah.
It's also hydrazine,
Oh
which
yeah.
his exhaust is anhydrous ammonia, so you probably don't want that.
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be difficult to do it anywhere, right? I mean, on in populated areas. Yeah.
Oh, and is this this is the jet ski one, I think.
Ah.
Where's he? There we go. That's the jet ski guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember this. Yeah, this is crazy.
You can buy these. You can buy these and
Yeah, I've
attach
heard
them
of
to
this.
your
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah, basically it plugs into your jet ski motor and
And just shoots you up. Yeah, yeah.
I'll join my former roommate who was a kite surfing addict. I'll buy that stuff and I'll join him.
Would have, yeah. It's fun. But again, you know, it doesn't last too long. Wow, that was a good landing.
Yeah, what if you start twirling and the jet just flashes, you know,
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
something
zero.
like this, if they, I mean, yeah, I would imagine I would bet you'll see modified. I mean, because this uses a standard jet ski, right? But if you, oh, sorry. Okay. Let me close this down.
Oh.
Yeah, we're getting commercials there. You know, for something like that, if somebody comes up with a custom engine for it, you might see something, you know, that's longer, goes up higher. I mean, it's always going to have a tube, right? It's basically your jet ski thing, but if somebody customized that, you could have, you know, you could have fun with that. But
Yeah, I
You could
mean,
bring
the
kids.
longer is the biggest problem.
yeah,
I mean, more than height, I'm thinking, you know, like the problem of energy needs and energy consumption. I mean, I don't really think the battery technology will ever get there, but that's my personal opinion.
No, it will get there. It's always been about the energy consumption for everything, including even aerial UAP propulsion as well. It's always been
Yeah, yeah,
about power consumption, just when it comes down to basics.
yeah.
It's the number one issue.
Yeah, that's why a lot of this EVTOLs, I mean, it's such a long word, really. You know,
Yes.
that, you know, they're doing it only for, you know, air taxis, like, you know, very, very short range, really speaking. And anything
Yes.
long range is all hybrid, right?
Yes. Well, what we
Or
really
hydrogen.
need is what we really need is maglev trains. That would just solve all our transportation problems, mostly with the
Well, maglev
public.
could just be levitation, right? I mean, you're not going to fly anything off that.
No, no, but if you wanted to
One thing
solve
we
the,
could do is, again, like we could teleport energy, like remotely transmit energy to
Oh, yeah.
oh
that's
yes,
possible.
Yeah, I
the
think a few
salt.
years back, they had done this where they had, you know, transmitted some lasers to a helicopter to provide that kind of energy to it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
very difficult, I think. So
No, but
We got
again,
to tune the frequency and the amplitude modulation. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
is a phase.
all
But
you have to do is using an electro-optic modulator, you lower the frequency of the photon and you increase the energy density so it can go through walls like radio waves, and then you convert it
yes,
back
yeah.
into high frequency energy beams. So
Yeah,
that's
this is this kind of related to that article you had posted the other day, right, Phil? On that what you said
Caltech.
somebody's doing some wireless energy transfer.
Yeah, Caltech is doing something similar.
Caltech, yes, yes, yes.
You live around that place, Sri, so Caltech is in California.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah,
well,
they convert sun's energy into microwave and back and forth. So that's pretty awesome.
I have a question
Yeah,
though.
I wanted to let me find this.
What university is better, Caltech or MIT, as far as technological wise?
I think
MIT is pretty awesome because they are
Okay,
talking.
Phil, you don't have any bias there, do you?
No, but MIT is pretty awesome because
No, no,
they
no.
work
No,
with
I'm
the
saying
private
I
industry.
think Phil is MIT alumni, right?
MIT, they work with the private industry. So if you have an idea, they're gonna find a way to help you start your business. So that's I love MIT. That's pretty awesome.
I
I
thought
think
that
MIT has probably a better reputation, right? But some of that may come down to East Coast versus West Coast. So MIT is East Coast, CIT is West Coast. So you know, but I
I just
believe MIT is older, and I believe they're more prestigious and all of that. So
Oh yeah, MIT, yeah, yeah.
I was looking for quality education or something that most universities don't cover certain
For
specific
quality
topics and
education,
subjects.
you know, um, there's a lot of universities in Canada like McGill or or call it, or I forgot the name, but in Montreal and Toronto, it's pretty cheap and they don't have big labs, but the theoretical work, you don't need big labs. All you need is pen and paper, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Same concept, and you would learn.
Jeremy, you should be looking into University of Reno, Nevada. Like 1/4 of their grad projects are classified.
Ooh.
Yeah, that I mean it's
Wow.
Nevada. It's where all the good stuff happens. So
Well,
if
yeah.
you
Does it include medical? I'm just gonna say that, but that's it.
medical,
Yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna say that. Does it include a classified medical project?
like they got classified everything there. I wouldn't be surprised if medical is in the gamut there, but I think more of their stuff deals with DARPA contracts, right? So the
Okay,
majority
but
of DARPA,
it seems like something to go check out. The Reno, Nevada, huh?
University of Reno.
University of Reno. I might check that out.
So I just want to also share this. I don't know if you can see my screen. This is the Pathfinder one. This, I just remembered this when Phil was talking about the Bay Area, right? I mean, with Caltech. So this one is backed by, I think, one of the founders of Google. Let me see if it's there here. Yeah, Sergey Brin is behind this. So check it out. I've not seen it yet, but I believe they're doing test flights around the Bay Area. So, and let me see, what's the size of it? I think they've mentioned it somewhere here. 400 feet long.
Do you know what the purpose of this company is? Because it's not obvious other than like heavy lift relief to Africa.
Let's see I think they mentioned cargo, I think. I'm right. See here, they're doing initial flights will be short and, but it's a proof of concept used to test a variety of new technologies used in its development, aims to eventually build airships capable of assisting with, this is Sergey Brin's thing, a lot of humanitarian aid, I remember, some of his other investments. A good fit because the airship can deliver supplies without airships or landing zones. So yeah, it's basically humanitarian aid. Yeah.
I would imagine those have cargo capabilities for all sorts of stuff too, right? They're slower, but
Yeah, but I think this is maybe they're not talking of their long-term plan because it's kind of theoretically a new concept. I mean, you look at drone delivery, right? They started off with medical stuff and all that, just to kind of kick forward, so to say. And then after that, they started doing like mainstream delivery. Oh, sorry, Phil, use the word mainstream. When Phil is there, you don't want to use the word mainstream, otherwise he might just go bonkers.
I think in terms of mainstream versus alternative stuff, I think all of this kind of fits into a spectrum. That's the feeling that I've had, right? And and I know like the mainstream hates alternative. They hate the breakthrough propulsion stuff, and then our community has its own issues with the mainstream. But the way that I've always kind of viewed it is it fits into a spectrum, right? And so the stuff that again, going back to what Drew was working on as an example, this comes after rockets. And so there doesn't need to be, there doesn't need to be like, I don't know what you would call it. There doesn't need to be animosity between these communities because, rockets
Actually, Tim, it's kind of interesting. When we were looking at ways to implement our technology, every time we would look at the volume of matter that we needed in order to generate a significant amount of lift, because we're just a little bit above unity most of the time, we're better airship design than we are for a rocket design. Now, the airship would be able to, hover, take on cargo, whatever, and go to the moon, but it doesn't lend, our designs don't lend themselves right at this moment to rocket shapes. They lend themselves to things like it's stupid large surface area dirigibles that they wouldn't have helium in them, by the way, because I don't know if y'all know it or not, but the U.S. helium supply has gone on like the endangered species list. You can't buy helium. You can't
Yeah.
beg, borrow, or steal the stuff.
I would just do
So why
hydrogen,
do
to
you
be
think that
honest.
is, right? Why is it so low? Is it are there more consumers or just not production is not there?
Oh,
Helium's extremely rare on the planet. Like,
yeah, but how come it suddenly
Well,
went down? I mean, who's
well,
using it?
Well, the
Artemis
balloon
is using it.
industry.
The reason why is that once upon a time, the natural gas industry was doing separation when they were pumping natural gas out of the ground. They stopped separating out the helium that was already present in natural gas. So through stupidity, hey, we got plenty of this stuff, we're not going to produce anymore. So they stopped producing it. Then all kinds of other uses started happening, superconductivity, MRI machines, the idiotic mylar balloons, etc. And it all got gobbled up. And guess what? They never went and put back in the equipment to separate out helium from natural gas. So short-sighted stupidity is the answer.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a question for Shresh.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Shresh, yeah, you mentioned batteries, like, because you're looking for a long time working for the energy. Have you heard recently an article regarding fusion batteries?
Fusion batteries. So what is
Yeah.
that?
Are you talking about beta voltaics? Beta voltaics powered batteries or nuclear powered batteries?
Yeah, I got an article. If I could share it, you can see it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it, Doug.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, cool.
open mic, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Hold on a
pretty
sec.
relaxed tonight, you know? I mean, heck, it's like what is this? January 6th? So I don't think it gets more relaxed than this. We made it through Christmas. We made it through Hanukkah and you know, all the big celebrations there.
Yeah.
So Shrish, you said you had an idea or a project you want to apply for. I don't want I'm not asking for all the details.
No.
What's the big picture of your project?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, so I could. Should I go after Doug wants to show something, right?
Yeah.
I
Can I
think
share it now? I don't have the share options. I'm using a mobile.
Oh, Doug, do you want to drop in it? Can you drop in a chat?
Chat. There's no options here. I can see.
Oh, do
It's
you
not
want? I
showing
can
up.
look it up for you. How can I Google it?
Fusion batteries.
Okay. Let me look it up. Fusion batteries. And somebody else dropped in something for medium. Hari dropped in something for mediums. I can put up in a minute too. Okay, fusion batteries. Okay. No, that's not right. Unless Rayovac. Are you talking about Rayovac? That's alkaline batteries.
Whatever happened to that Italian guy that had the thermal fusion battery that it was the size of a cargo container and it converted whatever it was, nickel to copper?
Rossi has basically been promising, claiming that there is stuff in industrial testing.
Yeah, that sounds like the guy's name.
Yeah, it's Rossi and Leonardo Corporation, and there's been a whole lot of coming real soon now kind of stuff, and claiming stuff is being demonstrated, but you know, where is it? And that's what's happening.
I got my options back. I can share it now.
The nuclear diamond batteries, that's real.
Okay, go for it, Doug.
Okay.
It's not Dave Rossi, is it, by the way? Like,
it keeps on disappearing. My option keeps on disappearing.
Oh, I think you just need to hover
the nuclear
on
batteries
it or
when they go and take irradiated graphite out of reactors and compress it into diamond, and it slowly leaks data.
Yeah.
Alpha.
Beta or
emission.
alpha particles, emissions.
Yeah.
But the power is
that was-
nuts.
Well, if I remember correctly, so it
super
leaks
low.
out
It's
the
in the
electron.
nanowatts or something stupid like that.
If I remember right,
Not necessarily.
It leaks them
Go ahead.
out at a really high voltage, and then when they hit, and a lot of it comes down to it hits a collector and it creates a cascade effect, right? So you get an electron that's coming out at like 50,000 volts or something. And then when it hits that collector, it creates an electron cascade. So it one very high energy, fast moving electron moves a bunch at a lower voltage. And if they do that correctly, basically they can step down what's coming out of the diamond. That's my understanding of it. And then you can produce a usable voltage and
They were
current from
talking
that.
about powering pacemakers and cardiac systems, or it was real small power though. It was microwatts or nanowatts, but it was they were talking 5,000 years. So.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. See, I thought it was some like a nuclear reactor power and a small deal. I didn't know it was just.
No,
it's irradiated graphite.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. I thought it was something. I guess I forgot how big the power was.
Has anybody been following the NASA testing of their whatever it is, the rotary shockwave engine that they keep saying is going to be amazing and get us to Mars quicker or some other nonsense?
Shockwave. Oh, you mean the
rotating detonation engine? Is anybody following that?
Yeah, that's there's going to be demonstrators for that. I think it was Lockheed Martin has announced they're going to be spending some more money. But yes, basically supersonic combustion, and two major, three. Military, obviously, a way of doing inexpensive supersonic travel, so revival of that, and also a way to have like a hybrid launch into low Earth orbit, so that it's the combined cycle, take off from a runway, use the atmosphere as part of your oxidizer source, and then get into low Earth orbit.
Yeah, I was looking at this thing, and the numbers on it don't make any sense. If you're sucking down atmospheric oxygen, you're it's in like the 350 range for I've gone blank. The 3 seconds, whatever the basic number is that measures rocket efficiency. I literally, my mind's gone blank on it.
Specific impulse.
But thank you, ISP. That if you're using atmospheric oxygen, your ISP is around 350 or 450 or something, which is fairly decent. But if you're using canned oxygen, like a rocket would do, like a vacuum engine would do, this thing has an ISP of around 130, which is terrible. I mean, that's like hydrazine terrible. That's damn near solid rocket propellant terrible. So I think the super awesomeness about this is they're talking about air breathing, basically a scramjet engine, from what I can tell, or a ramjet engine. So I just thought it was interesting. I mean, it's about as alternate as it gets from the jet engine world. It's brand new technology, but I don't see how it's any more efficient.
I think the impression I got from whatever public, that they have controlled rotating detonation that hence improves the efficiency, so.
And it's maintainable. So as opposed to you get the thing going and then it flares out, they've got geometries that allow continual explosion. So once you get it initiated, as long as you're spraying fuel in, it keeps on working, as opposed to prior iterations where, oh yeah, we got it going. Oh, there goes, just flared out.
Yeah, well,
Tim, I got my options back if you just want to see.
Get the thing working. But
Doug, yeah, go give
combustion
it a try.
is better than subsonic.
I got my options. Yeah, I got
Give
my
it a
options
try,
back.
Doug. Give it a
Okay,
give it
cool.
a try.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always, I know mobile devices are always super tricky. There we go. There we go.
Is it there? Is it there?
It's there we go. Battery, the future. Okay, so TS2.
Okay.
Yeah, TS2.
Okay. Let me look that up on mine.
Okay. So I think it'd be a good options later on for the future for a fusion energy battery kind of thing. Because yeah, it's more stable, more powerful, and more efficient.
Okay.
Yeah, fusion's been on its way for 50 years.
Yeah.
And it's always 20 years away.
It's always 10 to 20 years away.
I don't know if you heard about this this guy, the OpenAI founder, what's his name? He's promised in under 5 to 7 years, he's going to deploy it with Microsoft Fusion.
Microsoft
Sure.
Fusion. Do you think you can embrace and extend somebody else's technology?
Now, Helion Energy is in Redmond, very close to that. Is that related?
Yeah, maybe that's the one. Yeah. That's
They
backed
are
by
very, very
this
close.
guy, right?
They're insanely close, and it's solid state energy capture as well. I think they're capturing the beta particles right in coils, no thermal fluid either. So pretty awesome.
Yeah, Helion I thought was the one that they actually are extracting the high energy photons or high energy electrons, or it's a direct
they're able
conversion.
they're able to get the flyaway neutrons straight with coils that surround the machine. So it's a solid state energy capture. It's pretty great.
And guys, here's a link to the page that Doug is showing us. And it looks like it has more when it's not on mobile. The mobile version is hiding some things. So, Doug, if you want, I can put this up on desktop. Just let me know.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Okay.
Okay. So let me do this then. Let me start. And Doug, thank you for finding this. I have no idea there, but I do have that open. So let me share this. This is the desktop version. And well, you guys know, sometimes it hides. So it looks like there's a video, something, big picture, video, something here. Some stuff that was hidden in the other version of it.
Okay.
And I put a link into that. Yeah, that's a pretty nice little website.
Wow.
And let me see, ts2.pl. So I believe that's Poland. So this would be a Polish company. Oh, and they do. They have, okay, here we go. So let me turn the video off there, though.
The tokamak.
They may be just using a regular tokamak as an example.
Didn't the Japanese just bring their super tokamak online like last week or the week before?
Yeah, they've already achieved it 3 times.
Yeah, from what I understand, they got a tokamak up to something like 1 second of sustained fusion. Okay, there we go. So yeah, Doug, thank you. Here, I'll stop sharing. So yeah, that's the TS2. If you guys want to look at that, and again, I dropped the link in that he gave us.
That's
on.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, Sri. So what's your secret technology?
My secret technology. It's nothing secret. I just not talked about it enough. So I think, maybe a few people, I think Tim knows that I had made a presentation, I think close to a year back on what I was calling as quantum loop. And now I've changed it and I'm calling it quantum loop. Okay, so basically it's of course it's an alternative propulsion technology. It's based on a non-equilibrium space-time method that I'm using, which is basically then propellantless, and it may at this point of time it may develop further into an Alcubierre kind of drive. because of its use of space-time, essentially speaking. It's in research right now. I have some initial proof of it's working, and I just made a proposal to NSF, and hopefully I will get some input there on what happens soon. So then I would definitely let you know more. So basically, what it is, it harnesses basically inertia and gravity. So the way I'm trying to fashion this thing is I'm creating a non-equilibrium between in the equilibrium equivalence principle, really speaking. So Phil, I don't think we've talked about this. So basically, the assumption is, my method is basically you break something and in between it getting fixed, you get propulsion, essentially speaking. Okay. So that's basically the science behind this. So I break the link between inertia and gravity in an accelerated frame. And in that meanwhile, I get this propulsion activity, so to say, and as part of that, it recovers over into equivalence principle, essentially speaking. Okay, it's based on thermodynamics, and I think the last time when I was here, there was a lot of blank stares because I don't think too many people here are comfortable with thermodynamics. So it's an entropic system. So so yeah, that's the summary of, one of these days when I have some better progress, I think, Tim, I will let you know. I would love to come on and give a talk about.
Yeah, come on, give us an update and then in the meantime, I just asked Michael Perrone if he, and I'm waiting to hear back, if he wants to come on and update us about LK99. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only issue is, I think most of the people are more comfortable with particle physics, and I think, of course, Professor Woodward is here. He's a thermodynamics guru here, so apart from him, I don't know who else really is comfortable with thermodynamics. So
Yeah, it's a tough subject, but now I understand. I understand better. You're a hybrid scientist engineer, and you don't like anti. You like anti mainstream people.
No. Okay, let me clarify this thing. I'm not anti anything. I'm pro everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying all mainstream is bad. I'm not saying all ATM is good. My point is anything needs to deliver the goods, and then it is good. I don't care whether it's mainstream, it's ATM, or somewhere in between, right? I mean, anybody can claim a lot of things, but then, what is that? They say that, what is that saying? Proof is in the pudding, right? I mean,
As long as it works, that's what you care about.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just like some unproven theory, which, you go to IOP, you'll see like millions of theories that doesn't mean anything really, right? So that's my whole thing. I'm not anti against anything ATM or anything,
Yeah, so we're on the same wavelength for that.
Oh yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
mean, some of the things that you've been talking about, the grinder, you and a few others. I mean, yeah, if it works, it's great.
But
If it violates certain basic principles, that's fine. But you've proven it, so then it means there's something there, right? So then the theoreticians need to go back to the drawing board, so to say, and figure out how come this is true when it should not be true. That's great.
Exactly. But also maybe
Michael's got something to say, I
maybe
think.
it's true for the mainstream, but there's a junction, maybe there are things that are true for both the mainstream and the ATM world. So we don't know
Yeah.
that.
See, the problem is, when you've got like the whole mass of the world, pun intended here with mass, I mean, when we come up with something that is going against that, there's a lot of proof that one has to have, right? There's some time back I mentioned this thing about the Sagan principle or something like that. If you go against that mainstream, then there's a lot of proof, right? I mean, that's my opinion, really speaking. I'm not saying it is wrong, but the bar on proof is very high because, I mean, again, your dear friend Einstein ran into the same thing because he was going against the Newtonian model when he came up. He was ATM, completely ATM, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's what it is. I mean, it's not wrong. It's just that you got a time to go against that. That's the thing. That's my opinion. I'm not saying that's the only opinion. Others can have something else to say about it, but
No, that's reality, and but obviously innovation is something that's new and it works. So if you have to go against the mainstream, then
yeah, I mean, you look at propellant list, right? That is going against the mainstream because everyone says you got to have reaction mass, right? So okay, how are you going to prove that the laws of physics are still satisfied, thermodynamics is still satisfied without a reaction mass? That's where the onus is on the propellantless developer, so to say.
yeah.
Sorry, Michael, go ahead. I think he has had his hand up.
You always have to have a reaction mass. It's just where you're getting it from makes the difference.
So that's the question, right?
I mean, even ours is propellantless, but we have reaction mass. We're just stealing it down there on the Planck scale.
Yeah, so
You've
that's
got to
one
balance the
approach, right?
equation.
See, that's one approach, right? I'm just saying,
Right.
we only have one way. The way I look at it, anything propulsion needs to have conservation of momentum. Otherwise, it's kind of a difficult challenge, right? To convince
Without
it.
question.
So how do you get the conservation of momentum? I mean, is the question. The well-known thing is, as you know very well, Drew, I mean, it is reaction mass, You throw something out the back and you move the ship forward, right? So what you're talking about with your concept is some other way, right? And I'm just saying, there has to be some way, but it's not about reaction mass, it's about conservation of momentum, which is the most important thing for anything that moves, really speaking. Whether you use some form of reaction momentum, I mean, a reaction mass or some other way. Now, my approach is some other way, really speaking.
Let me go to Michael Boyd. Let me go to Michael. And then I dropped a couple articles in chat too, and I'm happy to do a share screen, but let me go to Michael Boyd first. Michael, oh, and you're muted, sir. Wait, you're not muted. You just don't have audio. Oh, yeah. No, it says he has audio, but it's just not. Michael, I think your audio isn't hooked up right.
Nope, we can't hear you.
Yeah, it may take him a minute. He may be able to iron that out. Well, so and there's Curtis. Let me do a very quick screen share and just show you guys that I stumbled across this one. This one was really interesting. 10x stronger than and down here they were saying how where is that? Yeah.
10 medium-sized car? What?
So to grasp what this means in terms of like strength to weight or whatever ratio, right? So he said, imagine trying to stretch a piece of duct tape until it breaks. For this material, you need to hang about 10 medium-sized cars off the end of that strip before it breaks.
Wow.
So, yeah. So this, for building your spacecraft, this would definitely be good stuff to use. And then here are, you guys had asked me to look up some articles. Somebody posted in the chat. Here are some next big future articles on LK99. And again, Michael Perrone had kind of suggested the same thing. He said that this is a heck of a lot harder to synthesize and test than people thought. Basically, you have to synthesize a large quantity of material, and LK99 is tiny little crystals that kind of hide in it. You have to separate out and find them. And so his thought was it would be very easy for mistakes to be made in ruling this out. So that, and then I want to post this in here too. Let me see. Hari Kumar put this in a few minutes ago. And so all of these are in chat. I don't know if you guys know how, but you can download that chat to your desktop too, and all of those links that are in there.
Yep, that's me.
Okay, so let me. Yeah, so those are all there. And oops.
So Phil, whatever Phil's not here. Okay. No, I think yeah, when Phil comes back, I'll.
Okay, it looks like Michael's microphone is still not working.
While we're waiting for Michael, I have like a 2 or 3 minute one.
Yeah, go for it.
My camera will turn back on. There we go. Let's see. So now we still can't hear you, Michael. So I spent the last couple days crunching more numbers for the Growler Flyer. And I'm trying to find where do the different mediums that are present, where do these resonances and wavelengths operate? So this graph is extremely busy and, dare I say, painful to the eyes. So just apologizing in advance. But I'll walk you through the thing. So we have, in this device, you got 2 spinning discs that are very highly charged, made of aluminum. You have an ultrasound buzzer, piezoelectric buzzer on top. And then the center aluminum disc is twice as large as the spinning discs. And you hit that with high voltage from a Tesla coil. So AC on the center, DC on the spinning discs. So the thickness of these discs from the original inventor have all been about 1 millimeter. So that's this bottom line here at the 1 millimeter. The vertical here is millimeters, horizontal is frequency. So we have 1 millimeter thickness. We have the spacing of these spinning discs from the middle disc. And then this top horizontal is the diameter of just the spinning discs. Since the stationary disc is twice as large, this is the logarithmic scale, it would just be right on top of that anyways. But we have so many different inputs and parameters on this. We have the speed of rotation of these discs with RPMs. We have the ultra.
Sorry, Jared, what is this vertical axis? MM is for what? MM of what?
Millimeters. This is millimeters. So it's millimeters of the thickness or the spacing. It's also millimeters for the wavelengths present with these frequencies. And these wavelengths are either wavelengths within the medium itself or the wavelength of, in this case, the skin effect that occurs when you start getting up here to the RF side of things. And a little bit into the ultrasound side of things. So vertical is distance, horizontal is frequency. So we have like the ultrasound here is operating anywhere from like 5,000 hertz up to 100,000 hertz. The Tesla coil is operating at about 1 million hertz. It's somewhere between 700 kilohertz to 3 megahertz, somewhere around there. And then the speed of rotation is very slow at ballpark 15 to 45 hertz. Anyways, the reason why I think this is worth sharing with you all, I went through and I looked for the intersection points between the mediums or their half wavelengths in these mediums at certain frequencies. And the sizes that the original inventor decided upon. And it just so happens that for the diameter of the discs that he chose, as well as the spacing that he chose, as well as the thickness that he chose, all of these things have wonderful interactions that seem to occur that would not be occurring if he had just so happened to choose any other sizes in any of these regards, sizes or frequencies. So this is allowing me now to identify in my table that is associated with this, that's very large. It's allowing me to identify that as I move this spacing line up or down, you can see these red intersecting marks with air or water or aluminum, that those will slide up or down along here. And I think the sweet spots are anywhere where you get these skin effects occurring at the same frequency that you have a full wavelength or half wavelength in air. So at this point, it seems like there might be some kind of buoyancy factor or standing wave, a pressure differential based upon the number of wavelengths of air that you can get with this piezoelectric buzzer creating these standing waves in between the rotating disc and the stationary disc. Additionally, once you come up here to the megahertz range with the Tesla coil, you get a ton of interactions between the skin effect of the RF operating on this 1 millimeter thick plate and all the other factors present, like the air, the humidity in the air, as well as special resonance effects in that aluminum itself. Anyways, just thought it was worth sharing.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. Yeah, there's so much stuff that's moving forward right now. It's really exciting. It's really exciting. We're going into one heck of a year, you know? And then I think AI is enabling a lot of this too. I mean, like, I know
all the planets are aligning in 2024.
they're aligning with Chat GPT. So as long as it gives us honest answers, it will be very helpful.
Yeah, but it's trained by the mainstream, so you know it's limited to the mainstream knowledge. That's
You know, I had a comment really speaking about warp drives and Alcubierre drives, etc. Right? So there's two things that, you know, I think one, there was a link that I posted in our group some time back. It actually requires propulsion. So the general impression is that until now has been that just by having the what is it, the space-time curvature as Alcubierre mentions, you would get propulsion, but that's not the case. That's like various researchers have shown that you need actual inertial propulsion too. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing is, this is something I was thinking about, to control this warp drive, your computing needs to be superluminal too, because things are happening at a superluminal speed. So even your light circuits are not going to be fast enough to control it.
yeah.
So just a couple of things. I know we're still some distance off from that, but if you think about it, you got to get to that those kind of speeds. I don't know what that means really, but
Well, to me, it's like you just got to fix all the standing waves in the object. That's always been my really basic thing, is to correct all the standing wave, not to be standing waves anymore, while building power gain or signal gain, I guess.
Sorry, what you're talking about?
Signal analysis, or like you're measuring, because the object has basically got it's almost like dropping I think I said this before, it's almost like dropping a pebble in water and you get standing waves that would bounce
Oh,
back.
you mean the solitons? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, solitons. Yes, solitons. And that solitons would build standing waves, but you want to correct all those standing waves though to be, synchronized, and that would solve basically the power issue itself, right?
Yeah.
You would have one
absolutely.
input
Yeah.
potential, input potential super weak to the output potential is extremely greater that you're aiming for, depending on the frequency or the speed of the frequency or the wavelength, I guess. But it will create a lot of standing waves, and if you could correct those standing waves, that's pretty much it. You have, I believe, in my opinion at least, if that means anything, you have UAP propulsion right there itself. Kinetic, like immune to all like oxygen molecule movement at least, or whatever, I guess, causing microwave background radiation movement.
Yeah.
It's immune to that as well, and maybe neutron or movement, just different mass states of matter movement. So I'm just thinking this intuitively, but am I on the ball or not?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I think first we need to figure out how to manipulate space-time. Okay. That's when we will get waves.
That's how I think you could manipulate space-time. But that's my deal. But all right.
If I might translate for you, if
Go
you're
ahead, yeah.
May I could be understanding you wrong, but it sounds like what you're proposing is we create an electrodynamic standing wave in some kind of volume of space. And you're talking about it moving continuously towards as the electromagnetic energy is contained. It's trapped light. And this is a term that goes back, Jeremy Riss would tell you all about trapped light in these photonic coherent states.
Yes.
So, what you're talking about there is that the variable metrics of space-time are continuously modified by the input of energy, which is a mass equivalence, and that we approach an infinite velocity c because we're putting more and more energy into that volume of space. So if that's what you're talking about, then yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it, Jeremiah. Like it is total internal light reflection, right, of the object.
Right, it's a high Q thing, right? You have a internal optical recycling system. It's an optical oscillator, and you're trapping it at exactly whatever wavelength that is. Think about like the way a laser works, just any kind of quantum well. You've got a fixed wavelength, and then you've got a photon matrix that bounces particles of electromagnetic radiation back and forth between two boundaries until they hit some maximum energy threshold where your surface layer dielectrically can no longer withstand the amount of pressure of the electric field, and so it suddenly goes through a phase transition, and hence your photon escapes. But
how do you fix the phase? How do you fix that? How do you fix the phase transition to go to an even more higher Q rate than the object's, I guess, limit?
Different types of metals can be used in photonics to create a higher or a lower phase boundary in terms of the energy density required for a laser to actually start lasing in terms of the external space. Usually, like 90 to 95% of your light is actually inside the quantum well or inside the gaseous medium between the mirrors. And it's only that that escapes past the boundary point that is what you get to see as your photonic output. But this system is also relevant in terms of many types of radio waves. So you could think about doing this with microwaves. You could have, say, some kind of very large
you mean like EM drive, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no reason we have to stick with light. I mean, in terms of the visible spectrum, we can go straight to EM waves, and we can even go with other wave modes like longitudinal transmission for wave output.
Yes. I'm not very knowledgeable too much in longitudinal wave transmission, but I'm learning about. I've read about it before, but it's in the back of my registry in my head. So
well, William Malik is here today, and he's read up quite a bit on this, and I know Desiato understands this stuff too. So,
but is there no way to like not have to use an extra metal to bypass the boundary limit and somehow still go past the limit anyway of this? Just the object itself as a single metal?
Well, absolutely. You don't have to use a quantum well. You could literally use an antenna, and you don't have to have any kind of specific metal there. You're just dealing with radio waves alone. And if you can produce a strong enough gradient in the field flux, then you're talking about whatever power is being transmitted. Amps per meter, volts per meter. Your epsilon and mu are going to be modified. So you're talking about warp drive metric engineering. And again, Todd has math for it. Sal Payas has math for it down at the Planck scale, and even Sarfati has math for it, only he stuck his name on it. So,
yeah.
But there's different mathematical systems. If you wanted to know the engineering side of it, look at Ty Desiato's stuff. So
okay, I'll check that out.
Dreesh, if is he still here?
Yeah. Todd wants a word in edgewise without getting cut off. Okay, Todd, go for it.
Dreesh, what you said to start this was absolutely correct, that the shape of the Alcubierre warp bubble doesn't direct which way it goes. It basically changes in Jeremiah's language and other people's talk. It basically changes the refractive index inside the bubble relative to outside the bubble. And it doesn't tell you which way it's going to go. The other problem with Alcubierre's warp drive is that it works on the notion that space-time in front of you is contracting and space-time behind you is expanding, and somehow this bubble is coupled to the ship or matter inside it, which is not explained in any way. What couples that ship to the surrounding bubble, and somehow the space changing over there and over there is affecting the ship in the middle. That's action at a distance, which doesn't exist in general relativity or in anything, or electromagnetism or any other type of realistic warp drive.
So,
in order to get the warp drive, you have to have the gravitational gradient from the metric coefficients passing through the ship. And it only matters where it intersects the ship. So you don't need superluminal signals to signal within the ship if it's all moving together.
Oh, you mean if time is synchronized between the inside and the outside?
Hello? No, I don't need that. It just needs to be that the ship, all of the ship is in a gravitational acceleration. So it all is in free fall together. And it only matters the space in the ship. You don't have to talk to the space outside. That's irrelevant.
Oh, yeah, because we
The
can't
only thing
talk to
that
the
matters
space
is what's
outside.
intersecting the ship.
Right. Your time inside, your
see your
entire
point.
time
Yeah,
inside
yeah.
the boundary is basically at a different rate flow than it is outside the boundary. And so as long as everything inside is coherent, as long as the time rate flow inside the
I see
bubble is
what you mean.
completely
Yeah.
uniform, or at least approximating uniform, you have no issues with your electrical signals, with your communications on board. And
Well,
you
it
don't have
won't be
issues with health.
uniform. Hang on, it won't be uniform because you're in an accelerated reference frame or free fall. And in order to get that gradient, you're going to have a time differential between the front and the back.
Okay.
It's going to be tiny.
It all depends how
It's
much
going
you
to be
push the
tiny,
boundary, because
but
you don't
it's
have
going
to
to be
warp
tiny
and
because the
outside the
ship
warp,
isn't
right?
that big. But it has to be, or you wouldn't have a gravitational gradient to ride the wave.
You could adjust that for that time differential the way we adjust GPS satellites. Like that's an engineering problem.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
see, this is part of the issue that Mark McCandlish talked about with inertial leakage killing the pilots. And here, inertial leakage means that you're in the gradient in that boundary. You really want to get rid of the gradient. You want to be completely symmetrically uniform in terms of your T field. And if you happen to
There's
be in the
nothing to
in-between
carry
space,
But
if
there's
your
nothing
fingers...
to carry you if there's no gradient.
Well,
Yeah,
guys,
but your
hold on.
gradient doesn't need to be where you are. Your gradient needs to be outside of where you are. As the
That's
pilot, you
action
don't
at a
want-
distance. That's
Guys, let
action
me
at a distance.
give me just a sec. Let me give you the standard lecture about turning on your camera if at all possible. And we do have a couple of hands up too. So when you're done with this one.
It's the
Yeah, I
whole
agree with
point
you,
of general
Todd.
relativity
It's
being
gotta be a gradient.
space-time was to get rid of action at a distance because they didn't have a field particle like a graviton that was observable or an ether that was observable to give them to eliminate action at a distance. So to eliminate action at a distance, they proposed, actually it was never mind. They proposed a curved space-time so that the planets follow the path of the curved space, but it only follows that path because it's intersecting with it. It's connected to it. If it were flat, like you're saying, Jeremiah, there's nothing. If something happens in front and space is contracting in front or expanding behind, that's not going to change anything for that section of flat space where the ship is located. It's not going to move because there's nothing coupling it to those other spaces.
So Todd, actually, that's a very good point what you just now mentioned. Okay, if you have the curvature outside of the mass of the ship, then you need some manner to connect this curvature to the ship.
Correct.
And that has not been mentioned in any of the research that we've seen.
Anything.
Yeah.
In fact, Notario's version is that there's like a river of space-time that's moving, and your ship is in that river of space-time. But it has to already be moving. It doesn't accelerate up to speed.
Oh, you mean the VST has to be, there needs to be some way of producing the VST, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in Notario's version, it's different. But in that same sense, when you to get into that higher speed space-time, he doesn't give you any coupling method to say, well, if that space-time is moving and this one isn't, how do you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's, yeah, I completely agree with you. There was this paper by you know what, let me find them. I mean, there was this thing where he came up with 5 different warp space times. I don't know if you heard of that. Let me just find this, guys. Ah, 1 second. This one is from these guys at ah, let me just share the screen. I think this will help. You may have seen this, but this one. Do you see this?
Yeah. Yep.
So basically, this is the paper introducing physical warp drives that he came up with, and so that's where he brings up a lot of the issues that you brought up now, and he classifies warp drives into 5 different
it's a very good
warp
paper.
drives.
It's
What's
a very
that?
good paper. It's a very good
Yeah,
paper.
yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, I will post a link if anyone else is interested. As Todd said, it's really good what he's mentioned, how he's brought up some of the faults, so to say.
Well, I have solutions too, but I don't know how to do it. And that is if you wanted to get this warp drive to move forward through space, you basically need to excite, and I hate to say it, the strong nuclear force. You need to be exciting protons and neutrons at that level. And the reason is think of a proton, which is basically a bag of quarks and gluons. What would happen if you heat it up?
Heat it up, like thermally heat it up?
In that sense, in that if you added energy to the quarks and gluons, your proton would expand.
Oh, and guys, Michael Perone just said he will be on in a sec, and he can give us kind of an LK99 update if that's cool.
And if you reduced the energy inside the protons would contract. And the same is true for the fermions, the quarks, the electron. They all do this, and atoms do this. And the only thing that isn't affected is angular momentum. And because angular momentum isn't affected, atoms scale, protons scale, nuclei scale, and gravity is this scaling effect. So gravity is essentially free fall is these particles losing energy. Nuclei are losing energy, electrons are losing energy, they're contracting and time dilating, and that's where the energy comes from for free fall. And in order to reverse that and have warp drive, you need to inflate your protons, inflate your atoms, inflate your ship, just like Star Trek Voyager when it shot off into warp and it would stretch off into the distance. That's how it works. That's a beautiful diagram of how it works.
Yeah, yeah. So let me see how things go. I mean, with what I mentioned, but I believe I have a gravitational model. What I mentioned about breaking apart the equivalence principle. That's, as I mentioned, an update will be feasible maybe in the next few months, really speaking, and that's when I can talk about it more. But I have a model for that, which is, in Phil's terminology, it's ATM.
Well, yeah. Well, guys, let me jump in if it's okay, because we're piling up. Let's see, we have a bunch of hands that are in the air, and then Michael Perone just jumped in to give us an update. So I would say, let me see, Mr. Boyd, did you have a presentation? Did you want to, or was it just kind of a comment?
Well, I had a question and image I wanted to show, but I can wait till after Mike if that's.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Let me. So
I'm not in a big rush. I just had a question
Yeah, no, that's okay. I didn't want to cause trouble for anybody. I'm just trying to play traffic cop here. Let me see. Okay, so Michael Perone is here, I believe.
Hello.
There he is.
Yep.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
With his
So
camera issues. It's pitch black.
Yeah, no, it's this camera has terrible dynamic range, and when I'm at my apartment, it's just always like this.
Michael,
But
thank you for popping in. I had a bunch of folks asking questions about LK99 because it's making headlines again. Next big
yeah, I'll do my
feature, I
best to
guess.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it. Well, can you kind of give us an overview on where it's at? Because I guess
All right,
it's
so
not.
here's the update. So basically, where we left off, people were saying, "Oh, it's just the copper sulfide phase change." Like if the copper sulfide goes through its phase change like that, then you would expect a change in the resistance of the material, and the resistance doesn't go all the way to zero because it's not the whole material, it's not the whole bulk material that's becoming superconducting. It's some pieces of the material. So, or in both cases, whether it's the copper sulfide or the superconductor, like both are much more conductive than the lead phosphate, the copper lead phosphate. So, even if you have a change in conductivity in the copper sulfide, then it would look like a really big swing in the conductivity of the material overall. So people were doing 4-point probe measurements back then. I think the most recent paper, if I just reviewed it the other day, so like I haven't gotten too into detail about things yet. But basically, they were playing around with different optimizations of the material. People had demonstrated that oxygen doping was important to any. There were simulations that showed that adding excess oxygen was very important to seeing potential superconductivity in these sorts of phases. So this newer, and also, I guess we haven't published this just yet, but I'm sure other people have found similar results. If you heat up the if you anneal this thing at like 900 Celsius or whatever, it tends to form bands where you have concentrations of lead and concentrations of copper in separate layers. So it will tend to phase separate, and that's what we were seeing as well. Like the copper rich sections also pull any ferrous metals in that if there's any traces of those. So those copper rich regions become fairly strongly paramagnetic, and the lead rich regions become diamagnetic, I believe. So that's why we were seeing this interesting effect in our tests where this piece of material was rotating in the magnetic field, but not actually attracted to the magnet, because there were it's actually potentially an interesting property because it's very highly anisotropic magnetic permeability, because along these lines in the material you have high magnetic permeability, and you have, well, yeah, I mean you have stacked high and low permeability in one direction, and in the other direction you have high permeability separated by regions of low permeability. But yeah, so that's the other thing though is because of that phase separation, or that is when you anneal this stuff, the copper and the lead don't really like to stay together. So you have to get clever to really like get them to mix. So the original paper said you could just use vapor deposition, and if you did vapor deposit the material, then you could expect a more amorphous structure, a better mixing of the copper and the lead. So that's what we're looking at is trying to vapor deposit now for that reason, because annealing it in the furnace is nice, but it's not necessarily going to get us the phase we're looking for, maybe. And then this recent paper did anneal in a furnace, though, so they did some different stuff. They had a hydrothermal process for doping the copper in. That was interesting. They did a lot of stuff different. I think they just completely had a different process for producing the material. But once they had the material, and also their recipe for the material is different. It's like got a significant amount of sulfur in it, as far as I can tell. It's not quite the copper lead apatite structure. So like it's not exactly oxypyromorphite. I mean, I think someone produced the pure oxypyromorphite phase, and that was an insulator. So but so this new phase with a lot of sulfur in it, I think they have some reasoning for it not being able to produce copper sulfide in that case. I'm not, well, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, they have some reasoning for the crystal structure that it has. But instead of just taking resistivity measurements, they were doing some susceptometry readings, I believe, on the sample. So that's checking for a diamagnetic transition as you change the temperature. Because with the copper sulfide, you'd expect conductivity to change, but you wouldn't necessarily expect a diamagnetic transition. And this paper says they saw this diamagnetic transition. The critical current and the critical magnetic field are tiny. If it is a real superconductor, or the superconducting phase is a small percentage of the material. So it's interesting. They're not right on the money yet, though. They have a recipe that's similar to the optimal recipe. And I mean, unfortunately, like the challenge there is if there's a very specific arrangement of atoms, so you'd have to like build this thing atom by atom and get everything perfect in order for it to be superconducting, then you're only ever going to get small volume fractions. What I would be interested in is if they take this material, like smash it up into bits, and then put it through a magnetic separator. So you could concentrate like you just make a bulk amount and try to separate out small amounts of more highly superconducting bits, and see if you can see what's special about those bits. With this tiny critical current, it would your magnets wouldn't be imparting a very large force on these particles, so separation would be challenging. There's some ways to move forward to see if this is legit. In any case, that's the status. There's still work to be done here. It's not like a done deal or anything. Anyway, that's just my cursory.
Well, Michael, thank you, man. That's awesome. That's why I'm glad you were able to join, because you know this like way beyond the average bear, right? So thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah, sure. Happy to help.
Yeah. So let me jump over to Michael Boyd, who has been patiently waiting for like an hour.
Yeah, and I'll stick around a bit. I'll stick around a bit if anyone has other questions about the LK99 too.
Okay. Well, no, and thank you again. But I reserve the right to tease you about your camera. So
sure.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. Your mic is fixed. You sound great.
Okay, so what I'm curious about is if you guys, any of you ever heard of Gödel's universe? So if you're not, you don't know, basically I have like 4 patents on a device to produce gravitomagnetic induction, and essentially what it's using is the fact that I have a magnetic media disk that I fabricated little nano bumps and nano bits on. Now, I've submitted a paper to IEEE sensors that they kicked back for some changes, and one of my sections is on this what's called offset spatial divergence, which is to travel in time is to travel in space. And essentially what it's about is everything is spinning with respect to everything else in the universe. And spin is an important property of matter, and it has a relationship to gravity. And I wanted to thank Bill Alex. He gave me this book. He gave me a reference to this book called Gravitational Mystery Spots. Now, I live in Santa Cruz County, and right near me, you'll see I have this little bumper sticker up on my wall called Mystery Spot, Santa Cruz County. So, and what's going on here is there's a gravitational anomaly. They call it these gravitational anomalies. They call them vortices. And essentially, what happens is in the center of the vortices, the frequency of a tuning fork. In this case, they use an Accutron watch. And the tuning fork frequency changes between the point where you're in the spot and in the center of it and when you're on the outside of it. And it's about a 200 foot diameter spot. So this book, though, it has some cool data. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's this like ruler here that you can see, and it's you can see there's a difference in the length observed. It actually affects the height of the ruler, whether you're in the spot or outside the spot. And then this other picture next to it, there's a guy holding a plumb line, okay? And the plumb line is, let's see, it shows a picture of standing broom with a plumb line. So he's got a standing broom there with a plumb line next to it, and it's got a 7-degree tilt. You see the plumb line is actually tilting. So the gravitational, and they think the reason it tilts is because it's a vortices. So now that kind of leads to this what I'm looking for. So I was looking for what I've observed as effects where if you take a nano pit and you spin it on the disk, the electromagnetic signal is after the gravitational signal. So the gravity signal actually precedes the electromagnetic signal, and vice versa. When I put the nanobump on there, the nanobump, the electromagnetic signal precedes the gravitational signal. So basically, the hypothesis is you get in closer to a denser mass, time slows, length stretches. As you get farther away, as you go like out from Earth to say space, the opposite happens. And that's what they call, so space-time in one case is denser when you're close to mass, and it's expanded when you're away from mass. And so basically what that means is time travel's possible. And so what I'm going to share is this Gödel universe. Okay, and here's it. Do you see that, everybody? Okay, so now what we have here is you can see this is the start point, and basically you come back to that point, but you're in the past. That's what's going on here. And the way that's described is Kurt Gödel found a special solution to Einstein's field equations. This solution, called Gödel universe, suggested that time travel might be possible under certain conditions. In Gödel's universe, everything is rotating, and this rotation creates paths in space-time that loop back on themselves. These loops are known as closed time-like curves. If you follow one of these curves, you could theoretically travel back in time and end up at a point in the past. So basically that's what I wanted to share that and pick your brains about it. And then I had one other thing I wanted to share, which is basically the gravity affects biological systems. And I have an example of this. Hold on, I'm going to share. Here we go. Okay, can you see that now? So now what they have here is they have this plant that Arabidopsis, where on the left you see 8 days growth on Earth, and on the right, after 8 days, grows in orbit on the International Space Station. And you see how the one on the right, the roots are going all over the place. They're not heading towards the soil, or they're without gravity. Obviously, it's going to have a biological effect that we can observe. So, and my hypothesis again is that gravity is a spinner. It's a vortice, and both types are a vortice. One is hyperbolic, and the other is parabolic. Gravity is parabolic, and anti-gravity is hyperbolic. So basically, that's what I wanted to pick your brain about. Has anyone ever heard of this Gödel's universe?
I have reading about it and the neuroscience kind of thing. I won't get too much into it, but I'm a big fan of the Gödel universe myself.
Well, it seems like it would explain a lot of the properties of space-time that we are observing.
Yes.
So,
Could I give an example? Maybe it's like
sure.
A closed circle with like many different swirls in the spots in the circle that go connect to each other in different ways, right? Would that be a good analogy?
Well, the thing is, they connect in the right way, but the thing that's connecting it has moved, because everything's moving with respect to everything else. You follow? That's what they call offset spatial divergence. Travel in time is a travel in space.
Okay, so simultaneous.
So it's more
action.
like a spiral than a circle, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Kind of like DNA.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can post the link for the biological effects for the plant.
Sure. Let me see if I can get that link for you guys. Yeah, the author of that paper is Stephen Thorne, Modeling the Role of Gravitation in Metabolic Processes.
That's interesting. That'd be definitely good for my research.
That role that you just now mentioned, Michael, I think it's a very big issue with space travel, right? I think NASA has a lot of research right now going on. They're funding a lot of active research in that area, right? How it affects biological systems.
Oh, yeah. It's a big issue, because if it affects plants like that, imagine what it does to our cells.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they already know that people that spend a lot of time in space, they lose muscle mass, for example.
I heard they go crazy too.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
No, really. I mean, I've really heard that they lose brain mass. Their brain
They
matter.
call it the space bins.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that.
I would think that if if you can space-time engineer, you do space-time metric engineering, that you create a 1G, essentially a 1G. So basically, in these things, there's an inner and there's outer effects. So the outside of the effect is where you see the changes in the space-time. On the inside, though, some of the researchers on APEC have basically focused on the properties inside, and they talk a lot about metamaterials and stuff like that. But I think it has more to do with energy and how energy is being affected. And that basically, I think there's two kinds of energy. There's electromagnetic energy and there's inertial energy. They're different. They're not the same thing. That's why photons don't have any mass, because they have no inertia. They're radiation. They have what's called radiation pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not like a proton. A proton has mass. It weighs something. So and basically what the hypothesis is that empty space basically has the absence of mass. It creates anti-gravitational energy because it's expanded space-time, and the presence of mass moving creates gravitational energy. And a lot has to do with how fast the Earth is spinning, because we're like on that spinning disk,
So that
but we're moving
anti-gravity
at
is
1,000
not.
miles an hour. So
that anti-gravity is the same as dark matter, or you're saying it's something else?
well, dark matter and dark energy are both band-aids for bad physics.
Band-aids.
None of this stuff should be dark.
Yeah.
I also heard that
when I hear the word dark, I think we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like virtual particles. So, well, they're virtual.
They're
so
virtual,
you can't
so you
measure them.
You can never touch
well, if I
them, you
can't
can never
measure
see
it,
them.
it ain't real. That's how I look. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what I had. Anybody else have anything about Gödel's universe?
Well, I got a question. Would that possible energy interaction between your time differential of your frame of reference inside the bubble to your frame of reference in space, that interaction of energy in between the two, could that not be a source of propulsion?
Well, and essentially what's going on is the propulsion is a byproduct of a change of reference frame between one space-time continuum to another. So, for example, a person moving near the speed of light in outer space could, from a person sitting on the gravitational well on the surface of the Earth, would appear to go faster than the speed of light because of this offset, spatial divergence. So essentially everything, and then the vice versa. If you're heading towards the sun, the effect would be the opposite. The person would look like they were slowing way down from your frame of reference on Earth, right? But from their frame of reference, they're moving really damn fast. You follow? So it just depends on what type of space-time continuum you're in.
Yeah.
And so, and like for example, I don't believe in the Big Bang Theory. I believe in the cyclical universe. The point of departure is the point of entry into the universe. It's like a black hole's event horizon. You have a jet where we came out of. We have came out of the event horizon in a jet, and then we got to the edge of the universe in like what's a giant Oort cloud, where there's an outer edge to the event horizon. And then when you get there, the time switches, okay? And then it starts to go the other way. And then you start to fall back into the black hole again. And it's like over and over and over again. And so and so when you're close to the black hole's event horizon, that's where you're in denser space-time. When you're out at the outer edge of the universe, that's where you're in expanded space-time. And so basically there's a ratio between the two that keeps everything working.
Okay.
Well, guys, if it's okay, let me go to Bill Alec. Bill has patiently had his hand
Thank
up
you.
too. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Awesome.
Yeah, Tim,
Yeah,
you hear
go
me?
for it.
Okay, great. Well, let me straighten everybody out because I'm hearing a lot of confusion out there. Nobody has a clue what gravity is, okay? But I've been working in this field for, I don't know, 20 years. And let me show this diagram here. Okay. Okay. I don't know, Ken. I don't know if you can see this diagram.
Yeah.
Can I share the screen?
Yeah, you're already sharing. I can see it.
Oh, everybody sees this? Okay. I found out that magnets bend space-time. Physics doesn't know that, okay? And then I also found out that if you set up opposing magnets, okay, in this red rock, call it a red rock, set up opposing magnets, they bend space-time in the other direction, okay? It becomes anti-gravitic. Now, when you have magnets in the attractive configuration, they bend space-time in the other direction, okay? And I did what's called the Boyd-Bushman experiment, okay? And if you want to do gravity, you got to do this experiment, okay? And so what it is, you work with this anti-gravitic opposing magnets and then magnets in the attractive configuration, and you drop them. You find a place. Boyd used an elevator shaft. I used this place in Sedona, okay, when I dropped these magnets. And I found out with magnets in the opposing configuration is that they fall slower, okay? They become anti-gravitic, okay? When these magnets are in the attractive configuration, they fall faster, okay? It becomes gravitic, all right? So looking at this, I said, hey, wait a minute. You could build a warp drive engine out of this. And so this is what I came up with, okay? With the space-time configuration, the Alcubierre warp drive, you can build a warp drive engine that kind of looks like Star Trek. I mean, you just stack these up, right? And the attractive and the opposing configuration, okay, to create this push-pull effect, okay? And then you attach it to your vessel. But the thing is that your vessel has to be inside of this so-called neutral bubble, okay? And that's your warp drive engine right there, okay? So now I did a lot of work, with magnets in this opposing configuration in anti-gravitics, okay? And it creates this, what's called a scalar field. And the guy who talked most about this was, of course, Tom Bearden, okay? So I went to this conference back in '97, and I learned about scalar fields. Well, what's interesting about Tom is that he leaves little bits and pieces out of his lecture. So it only took me 20 years to put it all together, but I did manage to figure out what this scalar field is all about, okay? And so I publish a lot of things. It's on my LinkedIn, it's on my Facebook, really a lot of the details behind scalar fields, okay? All the things that Tom didn't talk about, okay? I kind of filled in the blanks with that, okay? So you can kind of pick that up on my Facebook and LinkedIn, all the details behind this, okay? Which means I attract a lot of interest, okay, from investors. Investors want to jump in on this, okay? I don't blame them, okay? So, yeah, there's some big money out there, and I'm basically putting this all together. And the money is so high that, hey, wait a minute, I want to start a space program, okay, using the scalar field technology. Forget rockets. Rockets are complete BS. Don't go there, okay? The scalar field is where it's at. That's where the action is. That's what the ETs use. And this is the only way to travel, okay? So my objective is to get the space program going, okay, using scalar field technology. That's my objective. So that's pretty much all that I wanted to say here. It was Richard Hoagland that introduced me to the Accutron watch, okay, for doing these experiments with the gravitational mystery spot, okay. And I think what Michael Boyd was presenting there was using a crystal. You can also use a crystal on this too. But you see, the direction of time is very important for gravity because gravity is hyperdimensional, okay? It's not something that's 3 dimensions like we see in space here. It affects time, but also affects us here as well. But it's deeply connected with hyperdimensional physics, okay? So that's pretty much all that I wanted to present here to the listening audience. And you know, physics is pretty much clueless on doing. I mean, they might be experts with magnetism and electricity, but that's pretty well where it stops. I mean, they're clueless about gravity. Okay.
I have a question about the two the anti-magnetic and the magnetically attractive and the magnetically
right.
Did they weigh different before and after you assembled them?
The magnets?
Yeah, the magnets. Did you take the pieces and weigh them and then put them together and see?
Yeah, when you put them in the attractive configuration, of course they're gonna come together. But you can build a warp drive engine out of this thing because they bend.
So my question is, when you put the anti-magnetic field they're exposed to each other, and you weighed it after assembly, did it weigh less?
No, you can't really weigh it. You have to be able to drop it.
I see.
Okay, to see what the effect of gravity has on that.
So I guess
that's what I did. I mean, that's what Boyd Bushman did. Okay.
No, I mean, like, you know, calibrating the weight before and after. The actual weight of your assembly, right? Your magnet.
No, I couldn't weigh it. I mean, you're not going to see a weight difference.
Okay, that's all.
I don't have anything that's sensitive to be able to weigh it. I have to be able to drop it, okay, from a height. And that's what Boyd Bushman did.
Did you do the experiment at sea level and then say high up on elevation to see if there was any difference there?
No, I did it. I just did it at one place, Sedona.
Okay.
Okay. Because there they have the high structures and you can lean over, you know, and then drop the rock and drop your magnets. Okay. Right. And then you see the difference. And then I videotaped it. It's on a movie. I think you got to go to the Wayback Machine to be able to see those videos.
How significant was the difference in
maybe about that much of a height difference.
Couple foot.
Okay. Yeah, you're standing about maybe 30, 40 feet. Okay, when you do the drop test.
Right.
And then I extended what Boyd Bushman did using magnets. Okay, and I found out that magnets fall faster than the control rock.
Oh, cool.
I was, hey, wait a minute here. Okay, because magnets bend space-time as well. And that's really cool. And knowing that, you can build a warp drive engine out of that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it is. Because you can stack these up to look like a nacelle on a Star Trek. Okay, you just stack them up, and there's your warp drive engine. So that's pretty much all that I have here.
Thank you.
I thought I'd pass that on.
Awesome. Well, Bill, thank you. Let me go to Curtis Horn next, who has also had his hand patiently up. Curtis, go for it, sir.
Hey there. So I have a lab update.
Awesome.
Share
Thank
my
you.
screen. And can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see here. Oops. Let's I'll just do it this way. So here we go. Oh, it's going too fast. Okay, so the turbo pump we had, I think last time I let you guys know that it failed on us. So we got a new turbo pump installed, and actually I got it in yesterday. So we were able to get down to, this is in, I didn't put units in, this is in torr, 10 to the -4 torr after a day of pumping. The way the system is piped up, it takes it a while to go down because there's tubing and restrictions, so it's not optimal. But yeah, it's good enough for what we need to do. So we're moving forward with that. I do have a couple videos. I think I need to, let's see if I click. No, I gotta run the presentation for the video to be clickable. Let me click it, and then do that down here. So this is the null drive. This is a drive is it's basically intended to be a control. You'll notice that on both sides we have equal masses, but there is a flaw in this. I'll cover that after I run it. So one of the things on the chart here, the blue is the voltage, the red is the torsion arm movement, the gold is the accelerometer. Down here we have a spectrum, and here we have a bunch of waveforms, including the energy that's in there. I'll mute it. So you see this blue, that's actually indicative of the waveform. This one, it was running in several kilohertz. And you notice the red doesn't move that much, even though there is some vibration that happens. It stays pretty close to stationary in terms of the torsion arm. And that's what we want. Now, I'll tell you what the flaw is here. The flaw is when this was constructed, you'll notice that these screws are asymmetric. So all the heads are on one side. And so there is a small motion, probably due to that, is what we're thinking. The other difference is because this has two masses that are equal, the center of mass is at a different place than what our typical system has. So I'll open up one of this is what our normal test articles. In this video, you can only see the brass mass. The other side is basically a thin aluminum plate. So it's a very, very anti-symmetric system. And you'll notice that when this is driven, that there's much more motion. So it's looking like, whatever is going on, it seems that there could be an effect there. One thing I want to point out is that this run was done when the vacuum system was we were still waiting for the turbo pump to come back. So, in a good, being a good experiment, it needs to be run at the same vacuum levels what we have now. But the article we had now was run. I just put it in yesterday, and it was exhibiting the same behavior, the low thrust levels. So that's what we have for the drive. And the other thing I wanted to share with the group real quick is, so I've been, I talked to you guys about Mendel's axis theory. So I've been going out there and seeing what else is out there in terms of Mach's principle and those kind of things. And I found I don't know if you guys know about Carver Mead, but I found a paper, a book by him, and several presentations, and I find it really interesting. And one of the experiments that he has a presentation he did this past year. I wanted to share this. This is just basically an outline of his theory. It's in his book, which I think is freely available on the Caltech website. But you'll notice that he is using Mach's principle and kind of taking things from where Einstein had done them in about 1911, 1912. So he doesn't go to the full relativity. He's kind of not there yet, right? Being an engineer. But one of the experiments that he presented, and this is the YouTube video, you guys can look it up, and that I found was really interesting, and I want to share with you guys, was this single crystal neutron interferometer. So this is a single crystal of silicon, and they built this interferometer for neutrons to go through. And basically, the way it would work is because matter is a wave, right? As we know, so it has basically two places to go through, and it could either constructively interfere or separately, go off to either that way or that way, right? So what they did with this interferometer, it was very interesting. What they did is they turned this so that one side would be higher in the gravitational potential well than the other. And when they did that, they actually noticed that there were interference pattern caused by the gravity, effect of the matter wave. And the other experiment that they did, and this and that's kind of expected, so it's almost like a so what. But the other experiment that was done here was they took this interferometer and they were able to vary its angle with the rotation of the Earth, basically either point it north or have it pointing out or pointing west in different directions. And what they noticed is that as the Earth rotates, right, it's kind of like a Newton's bucket type thing. If you're rotating with respect to the distant stars, and there's an effect there of the gravity waves, you would expect something like this. And there was actually a phase shift depending on which angle this thing was rotated. So I found this a very interesting. This is an experiment I hadn't. These are a couple of experiments I had never heard about, and I thought it was very interesting and kind of like it's almost a gut punch to any skeptic about the Mach principle and the fundamental nature of matter and the coupling with the distant matter of the universe. It's really kind of in your face right here. So I want to share that with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you. Well, and thank you for the update, man. That's very cool. So let me see. Let me go to Jeremy and then Brendan after that. And so we've been here about 3 hours. How long do you guys want to go tonight? Want to go until maybe a little after 7 or maybe a few more minutes or I mean, we could probably push it until 8. I don't know if we'll stay busy then or not.
I'd like to make a few corrections now that I had a moment to read the 3 papers that were out.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So, let's see what we got here. There's a glassy memory effect in the material. That could just be a spin glass sort of thing. But it could be indicative of superconductivity if you look at it, if you squint at it right. There's an article about they were doing, let's see, yeah, there's a diamagnetic transition at about 25 worsteds. They're using field cooling and zero field cooling measurements. Okay, yeah, so that's effectively magnetic susceptometry that they're doing here, and they're getting a hysteresis loop where they're substituting in sulfur instead of oxygen in the oxypyromorphite phase. I don't trust their I don't know if I would trust their the recipe here. That's because the phosphate and the sulfur, like I would expect at high temperatures like that some of the sulfur would diffuse into the phosphate ions and replace the oxygens. The other article with the glassy behavior had oxygen instead of sulfur in the oxypyramorphite phase. And the third one was just looking at possible high temperature cuprate superconductors that might be in the copper doped lead apatite lattice structure in small quantities. So yeah, the small quantities thing, basically, if you have this lead apatite structure and you have the copper arranged at a bunch of different sites, and then this particular piece has them arranged perfectly, then that's a superconductor. And then the probability of that might be low, and that's why you get a small volume fraction of superconductor. Unfortunately, that type of superconductor that's not a bulk phase, it's hard to make useful stuff out of those, because like even if you collect a bunch of this stuff as a powder, how are you gonna, like, you're not, if you melt it down, you're just gonna randomize the positions of the copper again. So anyway, so yeah, it's I guess this technically is a magnetic hysteresis thing, and then there's also some spin glass looking measurements, and it's 3 papers. It's not 1 paper, so that's nice. I'm going to call this still probably a little bit of a long shot, but I think definitely a lot of people like wrote this off before doing real due diligence. I think a lot of researchers, they just want to focus on, their publications, their careers, or whatever, and they just they're like, oh, if the probability isn't high, I don't really care to work on that. So it's more a practical measure, not like, well, anyway, yeah, I think people wrote it off prematurely because of all those things, but whatever. And I still think it's a bit of a long shot, but it's interesting, the measurements we have here. Anyway, yeah, they did some field cooling and zero field cooling experiments. Oh, and Michael Boyd was talking about offset spatial divergence or something. I don't think that's anything to do with spin, as far as I understand. It's simply, if you're traveling in time, if you want to time travel or whatever, you have to travel faster than light, then you catch up with the light cone of, like, you can, like, if you used a telescope, in principle, you could see that past action happening, and then you'd have to travel even faster back to your starting location so yeah, you can, like, if you could travel FTL, you could use that capability to look backwards in time, but you would be at some large distance away. That's the spatial divergence. So, like, if you just did FTL, you went far away, you could look back at the Earth and be like, oh, hey, that's the Earth in the past, because you're seeing the light that propagated away from the Earth at some point in the past. So to actually go backwards in time, now you have to travel back to Earth and arrive there before that. Well, yeah, I mean, at some earlier, I mean, it's going to take some amount of time to get back, but so you're not going to, like, get back to the exact moment that you're looking at the distance. You're not going to get back to that. But that's the idea of the offset spatial divergence. It's just like, if you have FTL, then you have a time machine, in principle. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know he was working on spins, and sometimes when you have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, but I don't think it has to do with spins. It's spatial divergence is just, in order to see the past, you have to go back. You have to get to the light cone for that to observe that moment, and then to go to the past, you have to go all the way out there, maybe a little further, and then go back. Anyway, whatever. That's all.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, let me go to Jeremy real quick. Jeremy, what do you got for us?
I was wondering about when you mentioned the stability of the atoms at one at a time with the LK99 or the copper. You said if that to Michael, it's to Michael.
Sure.
That you could do it one at a time and change the direction of the atom's spin position at each one.
No,
and,
no.
like
I'm saying, like, if there is a imagine you have like 4 positions where the copper could be or whatever, and it has to be in this one and not those 3. So I'm saying you have to take and place each atom to get the right structure to be superconducting. It had not really anything to do with spins or anything. It's just like for some of the ultra high temperature superconductors, the probability that you're gonna get the copper like at those specific locations in the crystal lattice is just very small due to combinatorics.
Okay, I see. But it's possible to do it one at a time, right?
I mean, you could in principle assemble something atomically using what was a scanning tunneling microscope. You can use the head of the scanning tunneling microscope to move individual atoms into place. But like constructing stuff at the atomic scale is not a, you're not going to make bulk samples that way.
I mean, you can, but it would take a long time just to make something like that. Like even if it was just less than a gram.
Well, I mean, if let's say taking a single unit lattice takes, like, it's like let's say you get 1 unit cell of the crystal. Let's say that takes a minute. Realistically, it would take days or hours. Now you get an appreciable amount of that substance. You got to multiply by Avogadro's number, 10 to the 23. So even if it took like a second, it would take longer than the age of the universe to build an amount that you can visibly see. Well, I mean, you got a speck of it maybe, but like, you know, that molecular assembly is not a technology that we have.
Okay.
Not for practical stuff. I mean, for research, sure.
Yeah. Huh. That's something to check out, though. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, scanning tunneling microscopy is cool.
Huh. You can use a laser to do the same thing, right?
No, not for assembling solids. You can pin atoms at a location, but they're still going to have too much energy. Like you can have ion traps and stuff. You can cool things, maybe, yeah. But then the light fields around those trapped ions would destroy the material you're trying to attach those ions to. So you can't really use optical tweezers that way.
Okay. That's good to know. I was always curious about it. I'll have to do some further research. And this is like in the field of nanoparticles, right? Like, if curious.
Not really. Optical tweezers are, well, you could use optical tweezers for nanoparticles, but it's a different field.
Okay. Well, I got a lot of homework to do.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Well, thank you.
I appreciate your enthusiasm. That's good.
Yeah, it needs people need more. But thank you. Appreciate it. That's all my questions.
Cool. Anyone else have a question about LK99? I might head out soon.
No, Michael, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Let me go to Brendan, if it's okay. Brendan has been patiently waiting.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm relatively new here, so I'm just trying to be patient. but and also soaking up everything that I'm hearing, because that's kind of like my value added product for this space. I just endlessly watch like Tim, your videos, your conversations, and these APEC conversations. And I've been talking, and just to give a lay of the land, I don't have anything specifically written or developed, and I'm not doing experiments yet, but it will be. I kind of have been talking with Daniel Davis and Jeremiah and Adam, aka Space K0, and a few other folks, and putting together. I'm sort of like trying to see the forest for the trees, because like we get into the weeds with these individual perspectives and different theories that I feel like are all kind of like, I don't really see theories as like being right or wrong. I see them as being useful or not, and sort of general descriptions of what may be the case that could be described mathematically. We can either, you know, we could just do stuff with. So I wanted to mention, and I had all these links queued up. If you'd let me share really quick.
Yeah, go for it.
So,
but Brendan, it looks like your screen is frozen. You might be having bandwidth issues.
Okay, hold on. Let's see what happens when it could just be my video, and that doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, try doing a share. And if you have video, try and keep the sound off if you can.
Okay. So you guys seeing this? So
looks like it's slowly sending. Yeah, I think you have limited bandwidth, which is slowing it down a little bit.
Oh, poop. Well, to get better bandwidth, I'd have to go around my whole house and get my kids to stop playing Roblox. So let's see what we can do here. So is it not coming through at all, or just a little bit?
It looks like it showed just a little bit. It started showing the first part of your Windows screen. It's got part of your background, and then it just kind of stopped.
Okay. Well, poop,
you know what?
I'm sharing the wrong screen.
You're sharing the wrong screen. Yeah,
that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Let me share the one that I was actually looking at. Share. Gotcha.
Let me see. There we go.
Okay. So I've been looking at Mike McCullough. He comes up a lot in my mind, and in these pursuits, which is quantized inertia, and you had him on your channel. And what he's describing basically is like an electromagnetic version of inertia, where the local mass object is a contained electromagnetic object that's interacting with the electromagnetic, call it pressure or radiation, from the whole universe. That is what we call Unruh radiation, right? And so that's kind of an electromagnetic version of inertia, and possibly gravity. Although we were talking about things going up in space, I don't know who else was familiar that they have a model of the Rindler Horizon Drive in space now. It's on this thing. This is an artist rendition of the thing, but it's an open space company, not SpaceX itself, I think, but it's up there testing its thing. That was interesting to me, because you can see here's the diagram sort of for how it works according to Mike, where by basically its interaction with the horizon of the observable universe electromagnetically is what creates what we experience as inertia. And supposedly by building one of these, we call them warp drives, but a warp bubble or some interference there to keep your electromagnetic energy from yourself from interacting with this the rest of the universe. And that's kind of what's here in this. Did I completely freeze? Am I
no,
my browser? Okay,
we can see your mouse.
My browser was freezing for a second because I'm like, I have like 20 billion tabs open on this computer, but I was trying to bring up, I had Pais's patent. Well, he patented inertial mass reduction device, which is AKA warp drive, and that was based on a similar phenomenon. and he has this Superforce paper out that is connecting all of these things you guys might be familiar with. And so like basically this gravity, electromagnetism, even consciousness might actually at the Planck scale be the same thing. And we're witnessing various manifestations of this one force, you know, albeit separated by a pointing vector here and there, orthogonal to each other. And I'm not great at the math, but I'm getting better. But this is the Superforce paper by him, and I can put this in the links in the chat. I'm doing a presentation. So that sort of cascades into Puthoff has this polarizable vacuum idea, which Daniel turned me on to. Daniel Davis turned me on to, which sort of is along the same lines, basically positing that what we observe as space-time and space-time manipulation could be a difference in gradients of between, like basically a gradient between charged and uncharged parts of the vacuum, and that, you know, operating on that, we could develop, again, inertial mass reduction devices, warp drives, and things of that sort. And also what I'm sort of seeing is like Lorentz transformations, even down to the, you know, electromagnetic motor, like the induction motor. We could be seeing small versions of the big version of what we're looking at. Like the biggest possible version of this concept is the warp drive, and the most liminal concept, application of this concept is, you know, moving a magnet around with another magnet on the surface of the table. And we're just kind of overthinking it, as silly monkeys, that these are all manifestations of each other. And that's easy to say, but here's all this body of work that seems to be like connecting these concepts. Here's again, this. And Space Case Zero, I have to give a shout out to, who Jeremiah turned me on to. Jeremiah, having followed into my Discord after the last open mic, we all met each other up, and I'm just so ecstatic to be here. He has this, and I think I put the link to this in here, where he was showing that there's a measurable distance or a difference in the space-time metric between these locations. He has two different electromagnets set up here, and he's been oscillating between those two, I think at interchanging 40 and 50 hertz, and causing movement in just normal matter. I think he had moving a coffee cup. So that was pretty impressive. This small stuff at this point. Hold on, I'm just getting my sound back. These weird headphones. So I'm not sure where all I was going. Oh yeah, okay. So there's this very old paper that I came across also through Space Case that seems to, like, this is from the 1950s by this guy Siama, and not sure of the first name.
Yeah,
but
Dennis Siama. He's
Dennis?
pretty famous. He's
Okay,
pretty famous. Yeah.
See, I'm new to all this. It's very recent, but he seems to be positing that inertia is a result of locally gravitational object or mass interacting with the mass or gravity of the entire universe, which sounds a whole lot like McCullough's whole thing of it's a electromagnetic object interacting with the electromagnetic pressure from the universe. Those seem to like be, again, an orthogonal flip from each other, just, you know, turned at a right angle. That's, I'm seeing all you and hearing all you post your individual things, talk about your individual things. I think we're all like, it's like a bonfire that we're all dancing around at our various distances, or like planets orbiting a central sun, and the central sun is this super force with all these manifestations. So I think there's seems to be any number of ways to skin the warp cat, as I like to say, and do this. And that's, I think, like all I wanted to go at, and see what you guys think of that. I'm not sure if I said anything unique, but I'm sort of my whole thing is sort of like trying to synthesize all these various perspectives. And that's what I do in a lot of my other work.
Yeah, no, Brendan, I think that's awesome, man. You covered a lot of ground, and
thank you.
Yeah, you know, I agree also, like what you said at the very beginning of it. I'm not a right or wrong person. I view things as models, right? And it's about how useful a model is, and that includes the standard conventional model and includes relativity theory, you know. And that also avoids conflict, you know, because a lot of times it's easy for folks to say, you know, I'm right and you're wrong. And the problem is when everybody says that, then everybody ends up fighting. But
you don't really get anywhere.
Yeah, like a healthier way to look at it is just like, here's a model of how this might work, and hey, maybe this works and maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's something better that comes along, you know, and so that kind of avoids some of the conflict.
As Donald Hoffman, I have to say, I have to give him somewhat credit for that. He's got a very robust identification or definition of a theory. It's a very functional definition of a theory. I just have to give him a shout out there. Love to talk to him someday. I'd love to talk to all these guys someday. I'm just so grateful to be here having these conversations with people.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, let me see. Do you want me to go? Maybe I'll go to Curtis. Curtis has his hand up.
Yeah. Hey there. Yeah, I just had a follow up with that because you know, Sciamma's work is something that you know, Jim's on there. He can comment himself, but it's something Jim used directly in the derivation of the Mach effect. And there he is waving.
He's older in the 20th century. He's back there a ways. So
Jim used that, definitely used that as a foundation. And so, you know, the gravitational potential being something that was in Sciamma's work. And he kind of showed that. There's debate about, you know, in standard physics circles, whether Sciamma, like, you know, really ended up believing that or not. I don't know, but yeah, it's I'd point you at Jim's stuff as well if you want to know more about the Mach effect. In addition, so there was a Mead Carver who I just showed you guys one of his you know, an experiment that he brought up. In addition, there's another fellow. I'm hoping that next time I can talk about his work as well. But yeah, there's definitely seems to be something there, and there's a convergence, even though not everybody would agree on the methodology and like the specific maybe the specific steps. But if there is a Mach effect, if there is some kind of inertial thing that the rest of the happens with the rest of the universe, then Jim's idea, or that kind of an idea where you're able to kind of bootstrap yourself and you know, wiggle your way around, you know, hopefully we can get something experimentally that shows that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I wanted to.
No, thanks, Curtis.
Jim, really quick, Jim last name, so I can look him up.
Woodward.
Jim Woodward. Okay.
James, yeah. Or you look up Dr. James Woodward. And Jim is famous also.
Yeah, there he's waving at us.
Oops, wrong one.
I'm actually surprised Drew did not say anything about evil.
Oh, Jim is here tonight. Oh, I now I built his ego up. Jim, do you want to say a few words? We should put him on. I'll do ask to unmute. Now that I've ruined his ego for the night. I didn't even know he was here. I was just saying he was famous because he is.
Okay. Curtis is telling you the straight stuff. Sciamma's theory was an electrodynamic analog theory that he created because general relativity was very complicated. It's a vector theory of gravity. It's ultimately not right. It's an approximation to general relativity, but it does get inertia correctly. Inertia turns out to be the analog of the magnetic field in electrodynamics. And it turns out if you accept that idea that inertial forces are in fact gravitational forces due to the distant matter in the universe. And if you want to make really gigantic gravitational forces to make gigantic gravitational effects, all you have to do is accelerate stuff very, very quickly. You can make enormous forces that way. Gravity is normally very weak. It takes the entire Earth to give you your weight.
But that can be done with fields too, right? That can be done with fields too, as opposed to accelerating matter.
I'm sorry, I've got new hearing aids. I'm not getting that.
We can accelerate fields instead of matter.
No, you accelerate matter. Fields are just the way in which the matter connects to other stuff. So you have to accelerate matter. That's what we do in the experimental work that we're doing. We have little lead zirconium titanate crystal stacks and apply electromagnetic forces with frequencies in the range of 30 to 40 kilohertz to them to get very large accelerations, and we produce effects that are measurable in the lab if you're careful. I suppose you could say you're accelerating the field in the material, but without the material,
you don't get the effect.
Field coupled to it. If the field's not coupled to a source, talking about accelerating fields probably doesn't make much physical sense to me, to tell you the truth. I don't know. Anyway, we're having fun. Curtis is doing an outstanding job, and it's coming along.
It's exciting.
So
it's exciting.
Curtis will have more to tell you in future meetings.
Jim, I'm just looking up your weather down there. It's going to be, I'm just looking up your weather down there. It's going to be sunny in the 60s,
The
low
weather,
60s.
it's cold.
It's going to be sunny 60s next week.
Yeah, for Southern California, that's cold.
Yeah, that's like Florida where I'm at.
It's winter.
I'm in the Pacific Northwest. It's cold here.
Yeah, Seattle area. It's
Southern California interpretation of weather is very different from almost anywhere else.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, I'm minus 17
Woodward,
Celsius.
Phil, and
Is
myself
that cold?
know about this.
Up here in Monterey Bay, we're dumping water. The rain was like unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
Is it Mark Twain or something that said that the coldest winter he ever spent was a summer in California? Though it's like that marine layer flips things.
This is La Nina too, so it's pushing stuff down. So Seattle's a little drier and a lot warmer, and it's pushing stuff down to California. You guys are getting our rain, I think, most of it.
He's got to come up to Canada where it's minus 17 where I'm at right now. Snow everywhere.
Yeah.
I did my undergraduate at Rensselaer up in upstate New York, and while I was there, I acclimated, and so 40 degrees was t-shirt weather. But that's definitely not. I'm not there anymore.
Yeah,
and what's it for you? What's it like for you?
Oh, I'm in Southern California as well.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I'm asking Phil.
Sorry?
No. What's the weather like for you there? You're also in Canada, right?
Yeah, it's -9 right now, so it's not too bad. But getting with the 2 events I've been at is going to help me apply for a EB-1A green card. So as soon as I get my green card, I'm getting the hell out to Vegas.
Oh, by the way, Tim, one little update for myself. I put in for an NSF SBIR grant, a project pitch, and I got accepted. So it has to do with space mining, because like I said before, my specialty was non-imaging optics. So I'm going to be working on using that to make process heat.
Aha. Okay.
So we might talk about that some other time, Tim.
No, that's awesome. This is exciting.
Absolutely.
So space mining where, on lunar or asteroids?
Well, anywhere where there's the sun. It could be
Oh,
on the moon. It could be on an asteroid. So I can, basically I can concentrate sunlight to close to the thermodynamic limit, which is the surface temperature of the sun, 5,700 Kelvin.
okay.
So
So you
usually
do
you
some
want
kind
less
of.
than that.
Okay. Okay.
And you can boil out metals, right? Essentially. Or literally just melt out. I mean, you can liquefy metals and then just mine that way, right?
Yeah, you could phase change them as well, but when you get to those higher temperatures, it's a little bit tricky because then the materials that survive that are things like tungsten, which are heavier, and you don't want to launch a lot of tungsten. You want to actually find it up there and then use it. So yeah, I mean, it just depends on what you're after, but definitely I'm going to be looking to see if NASA is interested in it, and actually Space Force as well. So because you can use concentrated light to pump lasers, high powered lasers as well. So
By the way, NASA is coming up with their SBIR next week, right?
Yep. Yeah. The NSF is going to be updating. Their window just closed. It closes Monday, I think.
Okay,
so they're
if you're using space mirrors, this is just a thought. Those are going to act like solar sails. So how do you offset the radiation pressure? Just like reaction.
Well, that part is going to be very minor. I mean, especially if you're near a body and you have a lot of mass, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, you might have a little bit of pressure, but it's not going to be that much. But it's something to take into account. I mean, but solar sails, in terms of the radiation pressure from light, is very, very small.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was thinking. Yeah. Well, and I know it's very weak, but I was just thinking again over a period of time. I was like, if you've got mirrors up there, I was like, I wonder if they'll move out of position and start to kind of take off slowly.
No, and this is early days, so any kind of mining is going to be a inherently dirty process. I don't know if that's a politically correct thing to say, but this is like it's more like there will be blood than than going to the moon. It's not. There's going to be stuff flying everywhere, so that's just the way it's going to be early on. Now,
I hope you try it on some asteroids before you go after the moon, man. I saw a bit of the Time Machine the other day, and it was scary.
Yeah, the moon is a little bit different because the moon, you would want to do stuff in a more controlled way because there's going to be people around, right?
Yeah.
So when you're on an asteroid in the middle of, in an orbit that never is going to come near the Earth, everything's going to go flying out, and the sun's going to push it out anyway. So it's not a worry. But the moon is going to be a different animal because you'll want a controlled process in that case.
Well, and again, I mean, taking into account that asteroids collide all the time, right? You've got collisions happening. So, so anything that a human being could do in terms of splitting rocks would be nothing compared to what nature does on a daily basis. So, but I still understand you'll always get the environmentalists, right? As soon as they figure out what's going on, they'll be there.
Well, I mean, the space environment, I don't know how how they're going to regulate that, but I don't think there's going to be a strong claim.
For every asteroid you break, they'll make you plant a tree on it.
Yeah,
you have to plant a tree. I mean,
on every asteroid. I don't know if you saw this week there was a request by the Navajo Nation to pause the mission to the moon because of the remains or something. And so that's a claim, someone can make because the moon's there and there's traditions of it, but there's no traditions or there's no religions based on an asteroid that I know of. So I don't think we have to worry.
Wow. Well, what about so-called lunar archaeology?
Well, the moon is an interesting issue because on the moon, what you can do with this technology is provide process heat, and you can provide power, right? So, and because at the South Pole, you probably pretty much have sunlight. There's places where you have sunlight all the time. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. So, With process heat, you can do everything. You can treat water. You can, you can do in situ resource utilization, right? Do processes to the lunar regoliths where you can extract the oxygen from it and do chemical processes with what's in there. So, process heat is basically the energy you use to do processes, right? So
if we
yeah,
could do that, why couldn't someone do it before
now? Yeah, I mean, it's just basic physics. It's anyone that understands thermodynamics and optics could do this.
But talking on this, I just want to share this.
Okay, yeah, and it's 7:30. So why don't we go until 8, guys? Does that work? I think that's what we usually do for these.
Sure.
So
I gotta take off, unfortunately.
look at this. They just funded a sample return mission from the surface of Venus. I don't know how much you know, but look at this. This is the temperature at Venus, 450 degrees centigrade.
Yeah, that always, for me, I don't know. I mean, they're like, well, it could be safe up there, but it's like, I don't know if I want to float above a giant ocean of molten sulfuric acid. That doesn't make me feel, you know what I mean?
But
like, it doesn't inspire confidence there.
yeah, but so the whole thing about Venus is it is supposed to be a sister planet of Earth, but went completely the other way. So, from a science point of view, we want to know what's really happening there, right? What happened there? And it helps with our global warming issues, to understand what's going on there.
Yeah.
So I think that's what this is. So, but it's very interesting because this is the first. So I just, when Curtis was talking about the lunar mining and all that, I remembered this. So I just wanted to. That's going to be a huge challenge. If they're trying to return something from Mars, which is a barren planet, versus Venus, which is hot.
Yeah, Mars is a problem because there's perchlorites there, right? So it's a it's a very nasty toxic. And the moon is low gravity. Venus is good gravity, but then has those high temperatures and the corrosive environment. So you could float around Venus, but I don't know. I really think like for us to make it, we actually have to create our own new habitats, which is getting. I think is going to be getting asteroid material and spinning up artificial gravity structures. That's the only way to really do it.
I'm part of this group called Humans to Venus. So this is an initiative that some people are doing. It's a nonprofit thing right now. So what they're trying to do, and it's something I believe in a lot, really, that what you just now mentioned, Curtis, they want to say about 50 miles, I think, or 50 kilometers. I don't know. It's basically it's the temperature is just like on the surface of Earth. The pressure is, gravity, everything is good, but it's just that, it's about. So I think NASA had this concept some time back called Havoc, which was basically balloons in the sky, really speaking. So so there's this organization called Humans to Venus, and where they want to. So his target, the founder's target, is basically to populate, I think by 2030, which I think is a bit aggressive. He wants to populate 1,000 people on the clouds of Venus. So,
well, and it's possible that they could eventually terraform at some point too.
No, terraform is out of the question because so we had this conversation with Dr. Landis, who's Mr. Venus, really speaking, right? And he said a lot of us brought up this thing about terraforming, right? So he said it's not possible, not in the next 1,000 years, really speaking.
Another thing too is you've heard that the entire surface tends to melt too, right? Like they have.
Yeah, it's temperature of lead, melting point of lead.
No. I mean like oh God, this was a show on the Science Channel, and they were saying that none of the surface features are older than a certain amount of what they believed this was the theory at least, something about like plate tectonics where the entire surface, because the Earth, right, you have the crust which floats over like the mantle.
Oh yeah.
They were saying that that entire thing, they believed, melts at once periodically.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why, but
Yeah.
yeah, and that was why none of the surface features were older than some amount of time. That was supposed to be a big surprise.
Interesting.
You know what I was wondering is, have that Venus group, have they looked into using the concept of a space elevator on Venus in terms of like anchoring yourself?
The problem is the temperature, right? See, the longest was there was a Soviet aircraft, I'm talking of, Soviet craft, which was there for an all of 1 hour or something like that. Because the temperature is so high, there's nothing that can sustain that, right? So if you want to hook up a space elevator, the temperature is so high, there's nothing to put it there, really speaking, right? It'll melt. So one of the things that NASA is trying is they're looking at non-electronic ways of sensors, like analog sensors kind of thing, to do any monitoring there. So
what I'm referring to is a part of the space center elevator, not necessarily going all the way to the surface, but from the point where your habitat is, to help give you upwards force.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, next time we have a meeting, I will bring that up and see what they think. Yeah.
Okay. So no one's done that calculation yet. Okay. I was just
No, I
curious if they
think
have.
Dr. Landis is a big, he's written a lot of science fiction about, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's done a lot. He's all about Venus. I think he's even written some comic books on that. Okay. So he's big into Venus. So, that's how, this Havoc was also his creation. And now this so a few times he's come on and we've had discussions, the group, about what is it that can be done, really speaking, for Venus, because one of the big problems is natural resources. So if you're going to stay up in the clouds, how do you get resources, right? You got to get everything.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
asteroids.
So one of the things that a few of us have been talking about is it's kind of hypothetical, of course, at this point of time, but with Mars and its gravity issues. So what we basically have is Venus is a recuperation. Basically it'll have hotels in the sky. People go there to Mars, work there, do whatever it is, and every few days or something like that, they come back here so that the gravity can take over and fix their bones and stuff like that. So it's just some ideas right now. It's still quite early. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Shrish, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, let's count it down to about 8. We've got about 20 minutes left. So who else has stuff to share tonight? Thank you all for coming tonight. Again, we're just kind of limping out of the holiday, so but with enough coffee, anything is possible.
Yeah. Okay. Helium. Yeah. Yeah, we can
I heard that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Steve. Well, I was going to say I heard that the members of the House Select Committee oversight for the UAP issue were looking at some special materials in SCIF. It's a couple of days ago I saw that pass across my desk.
That might be the article. I saw an article on that a bit ago. Something about next week. I'm not sure where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah, just I know that happened. I think a little while after the July hearing, but I know I saw it again recently. So I guess they're different viewings of the same stuff or different stuff. Either way, we probably won't know for some time. It just was exciting because a lot of people have been like, "What's happening with disclosure?" And stuff is happening. You just might not be aware of it.
It is. It's kind of behind the scenes. It seems like it doesn't pick up until kind of spring, right? I think we had that giant explosion with the NDAA. That was the giant news headline for the end of the year. And let me go to Alex. Alex, what do you have for us, sir?
Hi, everybody. Let's see if I can put my hand down here. Lower hand. This is my first time chatting with the group. Just wanted to say hello. I'm Alex Rollin. I'm originally from San Francisco and I live in Eastern Netherlands now. I was doing hardware back in the 90s, early 2000s. I worked at Motorola, General Dynamics, and then Agilent in RF. And I thought this whole thing was going to be out of the bag 20 years ago when Bearden published. I really did. And it's not. But that's what I'm interested in is just resonance, what we can do with energy, and things like that. I think propulsion is going to be a game changer, obviously, when we figure it out. I wanted to mention Rick Friedrich has done a lot of experiments that recreated work of Don Smith, and they observed effects with negative energy, and it's not hard to create. So if anybody's interested in that approach, I'm somebody contact about that. I'm in the Discord. Rolla.
Yeah. Can you drop your email into Alex? And I should mention Bill Alec is really into Bearden. And I think a lot of people are, right? But Bill speaks a lot about Bill's, or he speaks a lot about Tom. So
yeah. For the last 20 years, though, I was busy with software. So I put a thread in the chat here talking about what I'm doing and how it might work with help with APEC and with the group here. If we wanted to build a link base and start indexing knowledge-based documents that are relevant to everybody, you know, sort of a generalized data catalog. I've built data catalogs for 20 years. I built the World Bank's data catalog.
Okay.
Et cetera, et cetera.
That's awesome. Well, and then the other thing to think about too is if you have topics that are especially close to heart, like if you'd be open to doing presentations on those or something like that, you know, definitely contact me and we could get you scheduled and, you know, all that stuff too. So
awesome. Yeah, I think it would be really helpful to have a data catalog of all of the relevant research and patents that people can mark what, you know, their experience with them, you know, even voting up, voting down. People can picture that, indexing the knowledge that we use as reference material, and then to train an AI on it. So we could ask it questions and it could generate references across that as we research into particular effects and things like that. That's what I wanted to offer, and planning a presentation about that.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I know on a limited basis, actually, and Mark Sokol is here. I'm not sure if he's listening, and then Jared Yates also. They worked with Jeremy Riss, the alien scientist, right? Jeremy Riss and his brother, and they did a load into ChatGPT. And Mark was able to get some pretty useful results out of that. And as I understand, that was limited. I mean, it was definitely small. I think it was a smaller like sample source.
It gets easier every day. All of this stuff does. I think the importance is to just say it, that we need a group to do it and we need group buy-in, because it does still cost money. It still costs computing money. So maybe what we'd like to do, I mean, I come from the commons-based approach. We built open data catalogs. The whole point of the World Bank's data catalog was to publish the data. So, I mentioned that we could paywall something like this, but the point is that we should index it for ourselves so that we have it as a resource and so that we can put it online and make it fully intelligible, fully integratable at any point in anybody's research, anybody who's relevant, make it affordable, make it effective, that kind of thing. But we got to do it as a group. So we call it re-enclosing the commons, bringing the commons back together. You know, so we put this data in commons and make a commons as a group, a community. So that's my presentation for now. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. No, thank you. Let me see. So I'm going to try and share my screen really quick if I can. This is from Tachyon Aerospace, and who I forgot his name, but he's been with us since the very beginning, and now I'm forgetting his name. Let me try and play this in the UK. And now it's not playing. Maybe I'll just kind of manually there. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so that is the video he sent me, and he's saying, let me see if I can get him to Let me see if I can get him to talk a little bit about it. Okay, and let me see. Bill had his hand up. Bill, you had something? You were going to talk about Bearden, I think, really quick, right?
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that. See, I got turned on to this field back in 1997 by going to that Tom Bearden conference that Richard Hoagland put on in Seattle. And see, Tom had the whole model figured out. Okay, that's the conclusion that I'm coming to, with all this. And what that means is, the whole free energy, anti-gravity, he had the whole thing figured out. But the thing is that Tom wanted a big DARPA contract, okay, with the military here. And so this technology can be, I don't know, weaponized maybe, but that's what Tom wanted to do. So he did what he did in his lectures, okay, is that he left bits and pieces of information out, okay? So really, when you walked away from his conference, I mean, you think you can do free energy in a week, but then, with all these missing pieces, that there was enough left out where you really couldn't put it all together, okay?
Yeah.
And so that's what the challenge was, okay, at least for me. The challenge was putting these pieces together to get his complete model of what he was speaking about in these conferences, okay? I mean, I even asked him, in 2003 or so, I walked up to him, I said, well, Tom, how does this one thing work? And he turned to me and he said, don't ever ask me that again. Okay. And it's like, whoa. I was like blown away from it. Okay. Because he really didn't want to share all the nitty gritty details of what he was up to. Okay. So the challenge was putting it together. Okay. And that's what I did for the past 20 years or so, putting his missing pieces together into something that made sense. Okay. Free energy is no big deal. Okay. It is no big deal. It's been done, for the past 30, 40 years. You can look at it in the Stanley Myers, some of his research with the HHO, because he used opposing magnetic fields in his systems. And what you got to do is make those fields almost precisely match, where the system just goes right over unity. It's no problem at all. Okay. I mean, it's part of physics. And, to do something like that, you have to precisely match these magnetic fields. And that's kind of tough to do. Okay. But he was able to do it. Okay. And in his patents. And so that's really the whole key, okay, behind this anti-gravity technology, is how you match these fields, okay, to get that effect. And it's just physics, really. Okay, that's pretty much all that I have to say about this.
Yeah, well, thank you, Bill. Thank you. Yeah, and again, guys, I think we got about 10 minutes left. So, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. So, you know what I will do very quickly is I want to share with you guys. I'll just do a screen share on the website, and you guys have probably already seen this. So January is already in place, January 20th. And let me see, it's caching the blurry image. I'll have to fix that. So Kurt Zeller is going to be talking about space-time engineering. Our very own Curtis Horn is going to be talking about Sachs-Dirac matter field equations. Christopher Mailer has a quantum-based warp core. This is very experimental. He has a bunch of experimental stuff he's going to share with us. This is kind of a home-built, garage-built project that he's been working on. And then John Brandenburg is going to be talking about the collateral effects of the Martian thermonuclear holocaust. And we're trying to get John in there. The short version, I don't know if I should spoil it for you guys, but so John believes that the neutron bomb could create atmospheric ignition, like they were talking about in Oppenheimer. And so he called me up on the phone the other day, and he was really excited. And I was like, okay, we'll squeeze it in. So that's kind of what we have. And then I'm still working on February also, and I have a bunch of physicists and scientists that I'm writing to and just trying to get folks involved. But this is going to be an interesting year. 2024 is interesting. We have a ton of projects that are moving forward. You know, I mean, I would say there are always a ton of projects that are under construction being tested, but I think a lot of them are moving forward rapidly right now, right? So that's exciting. So does anybody have any final thoughts?
I just want to mention that I'm for putting up up a repository that's open source. I'm interested in doing that with Saxis theory, so that any predictions we have and calculations that's up there. I'm not really into publishing a journal peer reviewed type thing. It's really a big hassle. I know it's good. I mean, I really should be doing that, but you know, I'd rather just put it out there and get credit that way. I mean, for anything we do. I think it's better that it's out in the open, and so that people can go and check and do their own thinking. So yeah, I'm all for that, and I'd love to participate as well.
And then just to remind everybody, there is something called Project Merkava, and that is something, again, I would say contact Mark Sokol if you want to know more about that. So there is an existing repository, but it's not easily searchable, I guess, especially when you get into PDFs and stuff like that, right? So that's kind of the challenge there. Sean Richter.
Really quick,
yeah,
I wanted to mention on the note of an open source compendium of these ideas and stuff. I'm a web designer and I've worked with a lot of NGOs, sort of looking for work, whether it's nonprofit or I work for free for a while. I want to talk to you guys about this. Curtis, Alex, both shouted something like that out. Just saying.
Yeah, and one of the things with like GitHub and the stuff with Google, there's something called Jupyter Notebooks, which is a lot like a Mathematica, where you can have the mathematics right there on the web, and it's something that you can do a live calculation on the back end. So you know, with Python, it's open source and all the stuff is there, freely available. And yeah, I think that's the way to go. I mean, you know, there is a place for, you know, we got to feed ourselves and, you know, have patents and all that stuff. But in terms of like the science itself, I don't think it gets us anywhere hiding it. Personally, I'm past that. I don't have time for that.
Okay, and I'm just looking for Sean Richter's one right now. You know what? Let me see if I can find his email. Here it is. So if anybody wants access to the existing file, I'm going to drop his email in here. Sean Richter was sean.richter@outlook.com. There we go. So yeah, I would say email Sean and he can get you access to that. And so it's a massive repository, but again, the searchability isn't there, right? And that's kind of what Alex was talking about. And I know that was what Jeremy Riss was working on as well. And but yeah, we've got all the data, or we have a lot of the data, but it's just, you know, PDFs and videos and this, that, and the other thing, right? Okay, well, we got about 5 minutes left. Does anybody have any final thoughts?
Yeah, real quick, in terms of if there is that data and there's a claim that, okay, there might be a new force or an effect that's non-standard, there is something out there called, I mean, there's actually several iterations of this, but there's AI Feynman is one of them, but there are AIs trained on taking data and spitting out a physical law, like an equation. So, for example, somebody took the data that Kepler had, the tables, and it took the AI about 4 hours, and it figured out Kepler's law, for example. So, if there's like data out there, and then we think that, okay, there might be a new effect, or there might be something there, and you do have to. It's more like, it's not like complete AI. You do have to give it some variables and define certain things. But there are tools like that that can help figure things out if there's something that we're claiming as an effect, and the data is appropriate.
Okay, and what I would say, I'm going to drop my own email in here really quick too, guys. Just I guess tim@altpropulsion.com. That'll work. And if you want to copy, I would say definitely don't forget to save that chat log. Don't forget to save today's chat log if you want the links. I just saved a copy and emailed it to myself, so I can forward that to you if you want to email me if you forget. But I would say save the effort, and just before we close things down, take a moment to save that. And that's if you have the meeting chat window open in Zoom, there are a set of 3 buttons on the it's kind of the bottom towards the middle. So you've got the little edit button, you have a smiley face, you have a file. Those are things you can attach. If you click on the more, it pops open a little box, and save chat is one of those. And that'll save that to your hard drive. So yeah, thanks, Curtis. Okay.
I didn't know about this save chat. Okay.
Yeah. Very
really
bottom.
good.
Very bottom.
Yeah, got it now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we're just about there. So guys, why don't we close things down for today? Thank you, everybody. This has been APEC Open Mic for January 6th, 2024. We are off to a pretty good start this year, and I'm excited to have everybody here. Thank you all. Thank you all for attending. And I think we're going to make this our absolute best year ever.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks again, guys, and have a wonderful weekend.